Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the GTFusiOn 2021 Team World Championship on Gran Turismo Sport. And today we're taking another look at round number 4, following on from yesterday. But whereas yesterday we were watching the actions, the battles, the highs and lows of what was Group F, today we take it a step even further and we're taking a look at Group C, the third highest rated category going into tonight's round, and indeed all of our drivers looking to go racing and give it their all in order to try and get as many points as possible for their respective teams. Now, I'm your host, Paul TX141 Walsh, also known as Britain a Spit. And depending on what media you follow me on, as we say hello in the YouTube chat to Pierre Chatura here, who I believe are racing for typically GTBE or Gran Turismo Boardless Esports, but also one of the critical organisers as part of the GTFusiOn organising team. And we are expecting plenty of racing action here at the Belgian circuit of Spa-Francorchamps, as we also say hello once again to Paolo Vanoli, who is supporting the GTD drivers. And it was great to hear from Paolo, and good evening to you as well. So I hope you're all doing well. If you're tuning in now or later on, catch up with this. I hope you're doing well at the time of viewing and that you're having a great weekend. I know it's Sunday, I know work's coming around tomorrow, but still, whilst we have got work on its way, before we get there, we've got plenty of racing action, and all of our drivers right now are getting themselves ready to go. Now, a little bit of context as to why we have picked this particular track and why our drivers are running around in Porsche 911 RS GT3 2016 machines. Well, this is in commemoration of two key items. The first one, and something which is perhaps more well known, is the fact that as of this year, it is the 100th year anniversary of racing at Spa-Francorchamps. It's been 100 years since racing was started to be conducted at the Belgian circuit, and what a way to pay homage to the circuit, the rather wonderful and legendary Belgian circuit, which has hosted so many different series over the years, whether it be Formula 1, the 24 Hours of Spa, you name it, it's been raced here on both Sim-Racing and real-world platforms. But also, perhaps a lesser-known aspect is it's in homage to a driver that is quite well connected with the GTFusiOn Championship, and that is the driver of, his name is Ayhan Goiven, who is the winner of the 2020 Porsche Super Cup round on this circuit, and he participated in the GTFusiOn Championship with the TRL team back in 2015. He was born in 1998 in Istanbul, and Goiven grew up with a racing background of his father. He'd been on wheels since he was 4 years old, on his first steps with race simulations, i.e. video games, and also on a go-kart, and he enjoyed winning different racing categories. And he is currently racing in the Porsche Super Cup, which is the Porsche Carrera Cup Germany, Porsche Carrera Cup France, Porsche Mobile 1 Super Cup, and he is also a member of the sim racing team known as VRS Coanda Sim Sport. Now, Ayhan's achievements are very impressive. The champion of the Porsche Cup France 2018 and 2019, the champion of the Porsche GT3 Cup Challenge Benelux, also second in the 2020 Porsche Super Cup Championship, and without a doubt you're going to hear his name being echoed through the halls of fame in motorsport in the years to come. Now, the car we are using is shown here by TGT CQ Dave, the Canadian driver, as he makes his way through the bus stop chicane on a practice lap right now, is known as the Porsche 911 GT3 RS 1991, the 2016 model, which has been used until last year in the Porsche Super Cup. So we are using the car effectively that has been the mainstay of the series for a significant period of time up until this year, where now they've transitioned over to the Porsche 911 GT3 RS 992. And we're grateful to Ayhan for providing us with the technical data of the car he uses, and we are focusing the build of the car around that technical data, where all our drivers are running a predefined tune with a power output, a horsepower of 510 horsepower and a weight of 1,263 kilograms. As we see the Canadian of Dave going sideways through Rouge and Raidillon, a very smooth run there from the Canadian, using that 510 horsepower and that weight transfer to its full extent. Of course, a mid-engine rear-wheel drive car with the engine locators as close as possible to hanging over the rear axle, and as he makes his way into the con right now, looking very smooth indeed. Now, of course, this circuit, Spa-Francorchamps, is a racing circuit located near Francorchamps in the province of Liège, Belgium, and each year it hosts the Belgian Formula 1 Grand Prix, along with, as I said earlier, the 24 Hours of Spa and a number of other national and international racing events So you put 2 and 2 together to celebrate Ican Coiven's achievements and also the 100th year anniversary of racing at Spa-Francorchamps, and we have ourselves an absolute cracker. And my goodness, did we have some fantastic racing in Group F last night, and that has really set the bar quite high for our guys here to replicate in Group C. Now, do remember, the way that things are organised is we have, over the course of the racing weekends, of which there are 6, we have multiple lobbies, ranging sometimes all the way from what is Lobby A, known as the top split, all the way down to, say, Lobby M or P, which is the bottom split. So we can have sometimes up to 17 or 18 lobbies run over the course of the weekend, and we reserve the top 3 lobbies for what is the Sunday racing, which is a little bit earlier in the schedule. And now let's talk a little bit about that schedule. So we're going to be getting underway with our racing action as we take a step out there just to confirm the timing. You can see in the top right corner of your screen right now, you have a timer that reads 18:12. That's British Summer Time, or UTC +1. In approximately 3 minutes' time, so at quarter past the hour, we will be getting underway with qualifying 1, which is a 15-minute qualifying session to determine who will be on pole for race number 1. Race 1 will commence at approximately half past the hour, and that will be a sprint race of 4 laps, and whoever finishes as the winner in race number 1 will start at the back in race number 2. So race number 2 will follow immediately after. It will be a reverse grid race where we will have 13 laps, and there is the strategic element. Now, last time out, we did see in Group F that everybody went for the 1 stop with some variance on an overcut or an undercut, but I'm hearing rumours there may be some drivers attempting to do a no stop here today. It has been done. It was done yesterday in a couple of the lobbies outside of Group F, so I wonder if we'll see some Nova stops there. And then after what is expected to be roughly a 40-minute race in race number 2, we'll have a 10-minute break, after which we will return for the second of our sprint races. But before that, we have a second qualifying session, qualifier 2, which kicks everything off. That will be a 6-minute qualifying session, so a short qualifying session which puts pressures on our drivers to get their laps perfect the first time round. Then there will be race number 3, which is the second sprint race, another 4-lap race, and then straight after that we have the reverse grid race, the final race of the proceedings this evening, which is race number 4, the second feature race, again 13 laps, and then we bring things to a conclusion. So that is our schedule, and we'll be looking to wrap up sometime in the region of approximately 8:30 to 8:45 tonight. Unless we have any technical issues, then we may be a little bit longer. But we can see here all of our drivers are absolutely raring to go, and we will introduce our drivers as we go into the qualifying session, because I think it's only fair that we use the out laps to introduce our drivers and their warm-up laps, or also their opening fast lap where needed, rather than trying to rush through introducing everybody now. But as we take a look in the chat, we can see plenty of you guys messaging one another right now. It's great to see so many of you tuning in, of course. And we've got Pierre there, of course, as I mentioned earlier, saying hello. We've also got Kazuya TV. We've got M4, I believe that's Max4D. And with regards to your surname, sir, I believe it's Melisme saying hello. And we've also got PO there, or PO We've also got GTD Black White Robbie there, supporting GTD drivers. We've also got, by looks of things, Zig Chichal's finest saying hello, as we are about to get that countdown. And I should point out that our trackside steward today is WSR Seb 72. Without further ado, let's get things underway, ladies and gentlemen, and let's get qualifying 1 underway. Who's going to be on pole? Let's find out. Alrighty then, was everybody looks to come out the pits immediately. It will be our lobby host and trackside steward Seb72 from Team WSR who gets to come out first, of course, due to the prioritisation of GT Sports lobbies, and then it's a case of everybody trying to get out as soon as possible. Now, the way we're going to be introducing our drivers in this qualifying session is we will introduce them based on top ELO, or ranking order, down to the bottom. So we have an average ELO here of 1,267.43, and our leader in this category at the moment in Group C is Power Bill here, representing Team Prima. The Greek driver here making his way out of Erugian Radion right now on 1,270.35, but he is being very closely followed by GTMX's Speed Hunter, the Mexican drivers. We are hearing there is a pit bug for one driver. We may get I think we are getting a reset out of quality already, ladies and gentlemen, as we are having, hold on a second, we're just waiting to find out what's happened here. We've had one driver leave the room. I'm not sure what's happening here. I believe it's Leon 180 CV who has had the issue, but we are waiting. We are going to get a restart, ladies and gentlemen. We will be restarting qualifying due to the technical issue. So everyone will have to abort qualifying, and we're going to abort going through our drivers until we get underway. And of course, we did see a number of technical issues last night in Group F. It seems as though technical issues follow this broadcasting team wherever it goes, and I do apologise for that, but it's one of those things. But of course, your patience is welcomed, and being patient will mean that we've got plenty of prizes for fantastic racing lying ahead. But we just got to wait a little bit longer, as we can see everybody being told to unready themselves. GTD Texas Doyle there just needing to unready himself very shortly, which I'm sure he will. The Italian driver there. And then we will try to get things back underway as we wait for Seat Leon 1080 CV there. I think he's referring to the car rather than a seat, which is named Leon. Okay, and now everyone will be asked to ready up once again. In fact, I think we can introduce some of our drivers whilst they are waiting and making their way around the circuit right now. And that may just be a little bit more helpful for you all. So whilst we do have Power Bill from Team Prima representing the highest ELO here, he's been hunted very closely by Speed Hunter from Team GTMX, the Mexican driver here, and we can see as he makes his way up the hill right now for Rouge and Radion. And we're getting some apologies there with regards to the delay in getting ready. It's the case on 1270.32. Speed Hunter definitely will be looking to put as much pressure as he can on his fellow drivers here. And he's one of the favourites as we get the countdown once again here for qualifying. We are going to try and get things underway again, and we'll carry on going down the introduction shortly. So attempt number 2 at qualifier 1 here, and we hope that everybody can make their way out of the pits this time without issue, and we are seeing some drivers already making their way out. And with that, now we come on to our third placed ELO driver in this lobby, and that is the GTD driver of Texas Doyle, who we can see here making his way out of the pits, albeit he's currently a little bit sandwiched in between himself and a fellow driver's car, so we'll just give him the opportunity to come out the pits and separate himself. This can happen every so often. Drivers get a little bit sandwiched together in the pits, but Texas Doyle right now, the GTD driver from Italy, representing of course Team GTD on 1269.66 ELO. A very strong driver, Doyle, and we are looking to see him potentially upset a few of the front runners, particularly Power Bill and Speed Hunter. And we know we've got a lot of fans in the chat watching on for Team GTD, I should say that one rapidly fast multiple times, I dare you, and it will be the case that Texas Doyle here is looking to be one of the favourites and to try and cause a few upsets. We then have in fourth place in terms of ELO ranking the Canadian driver of what is TGT CQ Dave here as he makes his way through turn 9, and we can see him making his way down to turn 10 right now on 1268.19. The first driver with a significant break in ELO compared to our top 3, and he is representing Team AFC. A little bit of unknown Dave, haven't seen too much of his racing in the past, but what I'm hearing down the paddock, he is a very consistent driver and he's very cool headed, much like what it says on the side of the car, and we can expect plenty of racing action from him. Then in fifth, we have our host, our primary host, that is WSR's Seb72, the Frenchman here making his way into the campus chicane. He's on 1268.03 ELO, representing Team WSR. A very strong driver is Seb72. Heard a lot of positive things about the Wise Sim-Racers driver going into tonight, and indeed, he has been one of the drivers who's been talked about up and down the paddock over the course of the opening 3 rounds before the summer break, and there has been a lot of hype building around Seb. Will he be able to live up to that hype tonight? I'm sure he will be able to some form, as he makes his way now down through towards Blanchimont. Meanwhile, 6th in our ELO ranking, we have another GTD driver, and that is Corinto 10, as he makes his way down towards Blanchimont right now. The Italian here representing GTD with an ELO of 1268.00, very close to Seb, and we have then a small break down to ATR Dachu, who, as we try to find him out on circuit right now, I believe he may be a little bit further back. Here is the ATR driver, the Polishman, making his way out of Stablo 2 right now, very gently out of Stablo 2, perhaps trying to give himself a little bit of a breathing room compared to the other drivers around it, and just massaging the car around, getting it up to temperature there on 1267.20 ELO. We saw a lot from the ATR drivers last time in Group F in the races last night, and we're expecting plenty of things here from Dachu as he makes his way into Blanchimont and heads up towards the bus stop chicane. You've then got only 0.09 ELO difference between this driver here and the Frenchman of Ang Zheng. Now, I do remember Ang Zheng a little while back in 2018 when I competed in the FI Manufacturers Championships for Honda. I believe he was also representing Honda at the time as well, a very strong driver who represented Honda, and as he makes his way right now down up towards Rouge and Radion here, representing Team GTB Gran Turismo Borderless Esports here, as he makes his way up the hill, a very competitive driver, and we're expecting great things from him as he makes his way onto the Kimmel Straight. You then got 1,267 flat ELO, which is in the hands of the Italian driver here of Seat Leon 180 CV. We're going to refer to him as Seat Leon from this point onwards as he makes his way into Les Combes. Now, the Italian driver representing P1 as he makes his way there through what is the Les Combes sequence. Representing Team Pone Hub there. I can imagine what that may be a slight play of words on, and I do not think we need to talk a little bit too much about what that represents, but P1 Hub there as we actually take the proper name off the car and Team P1 he represents. Meanwhile, we can see another P1 driver who is slightly down in ELO compared to him. Well, in fact, they're on the identical ELO, my correction there. And that is the driver of Joker, who I believe is not currently in the lobby. That's Joker PA, the Italian driver, who we are looking around for right now, but we cannot see him here. So we are missing one driver as it currently stands. We then got on 1,266.69 ELO, Matteo here, PRT, Matteo, the Polish driver, representing Team PRT, and he's our secondary backup host should anything go wrong with WSR Sev 72's hosting, and Matteo on 1,266.69. And then we have got GTTY's DMRL, who is currently around on circuit. And we can see the Turkish driver here making his way into the right hander. That is Stavlo 1, representing Team GTBE as well as he now comes through the second right hander in the Stavlo sequence. On 1,265.98 ELO, perhaps one of the drivers who is really going to have to try and make a claim to himself today and try to really push hard to compete with the guys ahead of him. But you never know, we can see some surprises. And think last time in Group F, we saw it was Seidel with the lowest ELO who took the prizes and took 2 out of the 4 wins. You then got Prima Kazuya in what is our second from bottom ELO, and he is on an ELO of what is 1,264.37, representing Team Prima from France is the driver, the 568 driver. The Prima drive has been very fast, and he takes provisional pole there straight away with a 2:31.070, showing just how quick he can be. And then last but not least, in our ELO rankings, and he's currently provisional P5, that is ATR's Enjoy here as he makes his way onto the Kimmel Straight, and he's on an ELO of 1,264.09, quote unquote the weakest driver in terms of ELO. But again, just because his ELO is low, it does not mean that he is the weakest driver here. It's just the expectation he may not be one of the favourites. But again, remember, Group F last night, Honey Seidel took the win in the group, but despite the fact he had the lowest ELO. Will we see a surprise here from Enjoy or say Kazuya? But that is a summary of our drivers and their overall pointage, and now we come back to looking at the qualifying session with approximately 8.5 minutes to go. And as the standings currently show, we've got Kazuya here currently leading, but then I say that and Texas Doyle here then sets the time of a 2:30.958. Now we are expecting potential pole times to come down in the region of approximately a 2:30.5, and remember, they've all had their first lap around the circuit here. They're going to have at least 2 to 3 more laps. They're driving on sports hard tyres. There's no tyre wear or fuel consumption modelled in qualifying, and Doyle with a very impressive lap to kick off proceedings here after the first round of laps, as we now take a look with the onboard telemetry, if you will, and we can see it Doyle making his way around. In fact, we're going to get all the data up on the screen for you folks so you can see how everybody's lap times compare as we just bring every bit of data up in this qualifying session. But Doyle, who's going even faster in Sector 1, immediately purple by half a tenth. I can imagine that Doyle right now would love to impress everyone a little bit further and widen the gap. He's got a 1/10 of a second gap to Kazuya right now. Where is Kazuya, to give you an idea? He's coming into what is Stavlo 1, and he's got Anzane behind him as they come around through Stavlo 1 and into Stavlo 2, and a little bit further up the road. I believe we do have Seb here. He's one of the lead drivers in the qualifying pack. He's currently provisional P3 with 2/10 of a second gap to Kazuya, and I think really for Seb at this point, what he needs to focus on is consolidating those front 2 row positions before he really pushes on to go for pole here, because we can see he's got a gap of roughly 4.5 tenths. Well, Mateo's now dropped that to 4.3 tenths, but he's got a good gap as Seb. He just needs to get that lap a little bit better right now to give himself that security, as we do see Enjoy there has put himself into that P3 position. He's improved to a 2:31.108, and that is a sizable gap between himself and Seb here. And we did see in the racing as well, it's good to start on those front 2 rows, because whilst it is a virtual rolling start with the single file rolling start, which we'll talk about shortly, it is that case that when you have that pressure being in the midfield, you can end up in battles that pull you away, particularly in the sprint race, as we see a DMRL right now from GTTY going into provisional P5 as he makes his way now into La Source once again with a very impressive 2:31. 231.269. And Seat Leon, they're just behind him on a 233.518. It's not looking too good for the Italian right now, the P1 driver, as he makes his way through turn number 2 and heads up to Uruguay and Radion. Now, as he comes all the way down, we can see in the chat right now some good old jokes there being set by Zigchikow's finest. Hope we're going to enjoy this race. And I believe that is a pun on the Polish driver here. You can see it coming around through the right-hander of turn and number 10. We've also got to say hello to FastStan89, who's supporting the Canadian driver of TGT CQ, Dave. Dave here, currently provisional P6 on a 231.630, but he's picked up a time limit penalty for track limits coming through Uruguay and Radion, we believe, because he's burnt a little bit of that, and that would be an indicator that he picked up quite early in the lap. And what is the case as he makes his way through there, we can also see we have GTD Drivers EU official broadcaster too, supporting on what is Texas Dave, and he's saying go 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 Nicolo Power, so that's great to hear as well. We've got Pavlov 80 supporting the GTD drivers and Adamus 23 supporting Kimbeck, so let's see what's happened as they make their way all the way round. But meanwhile, I can also see some other questions regarding not the racing. We'll talk about those in a little while, and that's particularly looking at the question from MS3300. But focusing on their here and now as they make their way round, it's the case that everybody is looking to improve on those lap times, and I think Texas Doyle had a little bit of a poor lap there towards the end, a 231.2, not working out. He was stronger in the first sector as he makes his way down the hill into really the second sector coming into turn 10 right now. And that's why the big challenge is about the Spa circuit is the fact that each sector it presents its own unique challenge, and sector 2 in particular is a very long sector, which means you can make or break a lap in sector 2. But meanwhile, we look back to our drivers as they're now coming through to complete another lap here, and we can see PRT Mateo is the first driver to come across the line. Not an improvement this time. Enjoy, meanwhile, he does improve to P2. Now Enjoy is the second driver to move into the 230s, and we can see a 230.998 there as Speed Hunter moves up to provisional P6 with 231.458. The Mexican there going good as he makes his way into turn 1. As he flows through right now, you have to imagine everybody starting to just get to grips with their car a little bit as Kazuya now jumps up into pole, provisional pole there at 230.829. Now this is definitely showing that the rubber's going down, the grip's building up on the circuit, and then we've got the Turkish driver of GTTY's DMRL improving to a 230.862, only 300ths off a provisional pole set by Kazuya just moments ago. Everybody improving massively here, as we can also see ATR Dashu going up to a 231.582. That's putting him in provisional P7 for the time in, as we see Seat Leon not improving as he crosses the line. Everyone continuing to push round, and as our drivers do so, it is one of those situations where I think everybody really starting to get up to speed right now. But we look a little bit further back once again, and how can Texas Doyle react to all this, of course, because remember, he was provisional pole sitter until DMRL and also Kazuya were able to improve quite significantly as he comes across the line here. We're going to jump on board, and he does improve even further, and Texas Doyle improves by a best part of what is 2/10 up to a 230.703. And now let's see, with 2 qualifying laps to go, we'll ride on board and see whether he improves further. So coming out of turn 1 there, using second gear through the source, and you can see it pulling over to the right side, straight lining through turn 2 here. This is a bit of an unexpected line, rather than drifting over to the right gradually. Now Uruguay and Radion, 5th gear, he's going to gradually drop the throttle down, apply a little bit of brake, and attack the apex there of turns 4 and 5, flying over the crest of the hill at turn 5, and now making his way onto the Kemmel straight through the right-hand kink here at turn number 6. Now, as he builds up the speed, of course, going up to what we expect will be about 167 miles an hour before going into the braking zone for Lake Com. He comes up towards the timeline for sector 1, 169 miles an hour, but you can see he's down by 2.5 tenths on his previous best. I mean, if that's the case, then he must have hit a roughly 171 miles an hour on his previous laps. That is a phenomenal amount of speed already. And as he makes his way out of 9 and down towards 10, you can see getting very unsettled on the exit of 9 then. It's all about mastering the transfer of momentum in these cars as they make their way around through every single corner and being able to get on that power as comfortably as possible. And as he now comes down into X corner here, you can see very tight to the apex and able to build that throttle up very nicely as he comes out the corner onto the exit curve. No oversteer, no snap oversteer in the car, just a gentle amount of extra rotation as he now comes down into Puon corner. Turn number 12, of course, and as he makes his way through the double apex left-hander as Enjoy improves to P2 off screen with 230.799. Seb 72 almost into the 230s as well, and a 231.0. We can see Doyle now making his way into campus here. The 3rd gear chicane, turns 13 and 14, and you can see he's got to switch the car from right to left as he makes his way out 13 into 14, but then he stamps on the throttle upon exit. He's got to straight line it onto the exit curve there. The curb will do the work to settle the car down for him. Now coming through Stavlo 1 and into Stavlo 2. Again, coming out the corners, DMRL has just improved to a 230.621. This is looking to be a gradual improvement here from Doyle, but he's got a long way go to close down an extra attempt to take back pole position right now, but he will have one more lap as he's come out of Stablo 2, building up that speed and heading in towards Blanchimont. So through 17 and now into the main part of Blanchimont at 18, you'll see he's going to put the brake on very slightly and try to carry as much apex speed as possible. An apex speed of 125 miles an hour there, and as he now makes his way out towards the bus stop chicane, heavy on the brakes at the 150 metre board, coming all the way down to second gear and now raising the car onto the opening curb before going onto the left-hand curve of turn 20 and now heading on towards the finish line here. He's going to put in a new lap time. What will it be from Doyle? Is it an improvement? It's not. So we are going to now see who is able to improve at the very end here of proceedings as everybody makes their way around for one final qualifying lap. And we can see here DMRL, well, he will not be improving on his final lap, although a beefy DMRL has done a phenomenal job to set a 2:30.621 in this qualifying session. Can Doyle respond, or will Enjoy be able to find a way back into this? As we see the Polish rider, he's got the PRT of Matteo just ahead of him here. And I think what Enjoy may be trying to do, he's trying to get himself nice and close to Matteo for the run out of what is Stavlo 2 down towards Blanchimont and then the bus stop chicane, because he will get a tow and he will get that critical slipstream in the run out the corner. And as he comes down here through Stavlo 1, he goes a little bit wide, the dirty edge just catching the front end of the car, and you could see how he was trying to turn the car through the corner, but he just didn't want to respond. And that's the danger of being in the slipstream of another driver in the dirty air, that whilst it gives you a straight line advantage, we see Matteo gets it horrifically wrong coming out of Stablo 2 and goes wide, but he collects the car. It's now Enjoy who simply has to run based on his own pace here, and he's going to be the first driver to complete his remaining qualifying lap. He's coming out of Blanchimont, a nice run there. It's definitely getting very tight right now in those qualifying stands, and Enjoy's only got a security net of 300s to Kazuya in P4, and Seb's only the best part of what is a further 10th down on these guys, roughly, perhaps even 2 tenths. So as we see Enjoy come across the line here, does he improve, or is it a case that it's a no-show? He does not improve. What about Seb's 32 from WSR? He'll want to get back onto that second row. He hasn't been able to do it. Now that is a little bit of a worry for him, because he really needed to move up the order. But as we can see here, we've got DMRL coming across towards what is the bus stop Angzen as well as he makes his way in. It's Dave who has improved. The Canadian driver's improved to a 2:31.260, which puts him about provisional P8, I believe. But does Zen improve here as he crosses the line? He does to P9, and meanwhile the Canadian driver Dave improved to P6 as we see him making his way out through the source. But we've still got more drivers coming around here. We see DMRL did not improve. What about Doyle here? He's one of our last drivers on a qualifying lap right now, as we also look over to Dachu, who's crossed the line. He did not improve, and we see at the rear view camera shot there, we have got one of the P1 cars coming across that timeline. We'll find out very shortly who that is in particular, but we'll see, have they improved? It doesn't look like it. We're not getting an update on our timing screen, so it's only Texas Doyle right now. Can he regain pole position, or will it be the case he starts P2? He goes a bit deep into bus stop. That's going to cost him a lot of time, and as he drifts his way out, it's gone wrong for Doyle. I think if this is going to be an improvement, it's going to be a miracle lap. It is not an improvement, so pole position is taken by GTTY's DMRL. It's time for race number 1. As we pan down to the grid, then it will be a rolling start, and it will be GTTY's DMRL who takes us away. Now, to clarify, how does the rolling start work? It'll be the case that our drivers will have to make their way nose to tail. DMRL will set the pace of the virtual rolling start procedure, and it's when they go underneath the billboard coming out to turn 2 in the run to Uruguay Radion that our drivers can go racing. No overtaking is permitted until they've cleared the top of the hill at Radion, but once they come out of turn 5, racing is permitted as they go onto the Kemmel Straight. So it is definitely going to be very tight, but we'll see that very shortly. DMRL will close up the field as we get the countdown here for DMRL to start acting as our pace car. But you can see everybody right now making their way through the bus stop chicane. Of course, it would not be fair to start the rolling start on the bus stop chicane, because it naturally means the field would split before they can actually go racing, as has been counted time and time again in FIA races and GT Sport. So instead, this is to bring everybody together, everyone weaving side to side to get as much temperature in those tyres. And as they now make their way down towards La Source, you can see DMRL just simply coming into the corner here. The field is starting to bunch up, and let's wait for the Turkish driver to take us away for the 4-lap sprint. And we're go for race number 1 as DMRL takes his way, and he's got the start there on Texas Doyle, who's bogged down a little bit and has got Enjoy tucked in very close behind him. Now as they come over the crest of the hill, watch here, Enjoy is right on the back of the Italian driver, and you can see a bit further down we've already got some time penalties coming in as we see Dave in P6. He's starting to pull away a little bit there, but wait for Enjoy. Will Enjoy go for a move on the opening lap, or will he simply wait for now? He's going to look for it as the ATR driver, but he's not gone in, and Texas Doyle blocks to the centre of the road here as they make their way in on cold brakes and cold tyres here, and as they all flow through, everybody coming through nose to tail right now. No major overtakes being attempted, but we do see Corinto going a little bit wrong there. The GTD driver has dropped all the way down as he cuts across the apexes there of Lacombe, but meanwhile as they come down into turn 10 right now, you see all the drivers coming through in formation here, and great to see as we see there Dashu trying to come a little bit close to Speed Hunter there in the battle for P7. Speed Hunter under a bit of pressure is the Mexican, as the ATR driver all over the back of him, and right now as they make their way through the left-hander of Ix, they will start to close up, and we ride on board here with the Polish driver of Dachu as they come down. As he rides down here into Pawn Corner, you can see taking a tighter line compared to the Mexican ahead of him. The GTMX driver, see when he's struggling a little bit for grip right now. Remember, Dachu does have that time penalty, which he will need to burn. And you can see behind there Zen from GTBE trying to close up and look for a move. As we look to the exterior pictures, and we can see he's going for the move around the outside to inside here through Campus. As Zen holds on the inside, it's side by side through the corner, the battle for P8. And as Dachu burns his penalty there, coming off the lift off the throttle, the two drivers are ghosted. We see Dachu giving up the position there as Zen has made the claim for the position. He's up into P8, and now they all make their way through the Stavlo complex. Through Stavlo 2 they go, through turn number 16, and they head down towards Blanchimont for the first time of asking. We look a little bit further back up at front. Of course, DMRL still holding on to lead right now, and Texas Doyle hanging in there in that P2 position. And Kazuya having a little bit of an odd run there coming out of Stavlo 2. I think it might have been the perfect run because he took to the full width of the circuit, and Enjoy taking a very close line as they make their way through Blanchimont here, and you can see everybody starting to come together into the heavy braking zone. This will trigger the concertina effect in the top 6 as they make their way in, and Kazuya tapping the back there of Enjoy but not able to get an advantage from it. He's just too far back to be able to look for a move. So after one lap, it is DMRL leading by 0.3 of a second over Texas Doyle. GTD doing a very good job as Enjoy behind in P3, Kazuya P4, then Seb P5, then in Dave in P6, followed by Speed Hunter in P7, Zed in P8, Dachu in P9, Matteo P10, Power Bill in P11, Seat Leon in P12, and Corinto in P13 as they all make their way around once again. Now, as we look back to the front of the picture here, we can see DMRL holding onto his position for the time being and pulling a little bit more of a gap on Doyle. Meanwhile, Enjoy here under pressure for Kazuya, and Enjoy's got it wrong there coming through turn 4. He's gone a little bit deep, and Kazuya's going to have a lot of speed here as they make their way onto the Kimmel straight. Now, will Kazuya go for the early sign of the overspeed here? You can see that Enjoy's already reacted. He's gone defensive, and he's picked up a half-second penalty. Now, will he lift out and burn it into the braking zone, or will he force Kazuya to go all the way round? I think he's going to go half and half here, and he's made it a bit difficult for Kazuya, but the Prima driver has gone round the end, and Enjoy has now got to worry about Seb 72, who will be closing up to the back of him as they make their way through at turn number 9. Further back, we can see Speed Hunter causing a bit of a traffic jam here is the Mexican. I'm wondering if there's been an attempt to overtake because Dave has dropped 2 positions. Dave was in P6, and we see behind now Dave burning a penalty as Matteo goes to the inside versus Zen. Something has happened between all of these drivers because they have had a shake-up in the order, and look at this, Power Bill from Team Prima has come through on Zen as they make their way into X corner right now. Something has definitely occurred, and now as they come down, it's Power Bill's got a little bit wide out of X, but as he collects the car here and makes his way down into Pawn Corner's braking zone, you can see holding it together for the time being, and Zen not able to capitalise on the Greek driver's mistake as they come down the hill and head up towards campus. And as they flow down, Zen getting that tighter line, but he just doesn't have the room to use the overspeed immediately, and that means he has to tuck back in as they all flow through into the chicane. Now coming through the right to left combination here, we can see a little bit further behind. We've got Seat Leon under increasing pressure from Corinto, the P1 driver, feeling that pressure as they make their way through. The two Italians, of course, they won't want to knock one another about too much because they've both got national pride on the line. And Corinto looking for the move here, but he can't quite find it, or can he? No, he can't quite find the move into Stavlo 1. But meanwhile, up front, you can see our race leader of DMRL, he's still under pressure from Doyle. Our two leaders really breaking away and showing a lot more pace as Kazuya, of course, having gained that position in the run down towards Lacombe earlier in the lap, is now got Enjoy over the back of him, but at the same time we can see here no major attempts from Enjoy by looks of things coming into bus stop this time around. Too far back. I think they're just going to wait for the opportunity here, and I think what they're also trying to do is break away from the battle for P6 because we can see ATR Dachu on the inside versus Speed Hunter here. The GTMX driver not fighting this one too hard, although as they come over the apex to turn 20, I think Dachu parked the car in apex there. I think he felt he didn't have the rotation for the corner, he had to park it because Speed Hunter otherwise would have gone for the cutback if Dachu had gone deep, and that that means that Speed Hunter has lost a place, and behind them, Matteo, he's under pressure from Power Bill right now, and Zen not able to gain a place. And now, speaking of this, let's take a quick look back at what happened on the previous lap for Dave to drop from P6 to what was P8. Well, we can see Speed Hunter was coming from the inside already. This was a lap ago, and then behind, did we get contact from a driver here? Well, Dave was in that P7 position, and where it's the case that as they made their way through Lacombe, Dachu came through on what was his outside, and Dachu going all the way round here. Great racing room and respect shown from Dave there, and Dachu very brave to go all the way around, and that's what kicked off the effect. But a great move a lap ago. But as we now come back to your live pictures, ladies and gentlemen, we can see that our top five are breaking away from the rest of the field, and they come all the way through Lacombe once again, and no changes here, but everybody's settling down into a formation. But we only have 1.5 laps remaining as they make their way into turn 10 right now, and I think we are going to start to see some rather bold moves kick off as we see Power Bill continually signalling to Matteo as he comes out of what is turn 9. He's going to the inside there to look for a potential move of Matteo into turn 10, but I think that's more of a feint and trying to make Matteo make a mistake under braking, because he's too far back, Power Bill, to get the run, and Power Bill goes a little bit wide again. Coming out of this corner, he's really struggling with that exit on turn number 11 right now as they make their way down into 12 again. And meanwhile, up front, we can see that DMRL has picked up a time penalty, a track limits penalty. We believe we're hearing our ear for Lacombe, and he's gradually burning that penalty away right now. And he's got Texas Doyle still all over the back of him. Behind him, we can see Kazuya is making the break versus Enjoy right now. The Frenchman able to break away from the Polish driver, who's got Seb inching a little bit closer lap on lap. But these guys all lapping consistently versus one another. And I think Enjoy's just made 1 or 2 minor mistakes. And when I say minor, guys, I mean literally what cost you, say, half a tenth. Not a full tenth, not 2 tenths. A mistake for these guys is getting it 1 millimeter wrong on the apex. And that is the difference and why Kazuya has made the break. But you can see in return, Enjoy having the better run coming out of Stavlo 2. And now, as a result, he's back in that slipstream. And that gives him safety versus Seb as they come down towards the bus stop chicane for the penultimate time. Now, as we look further back here, we can see that Speed Hunter has made the break versus Matteo, and I think what it is, that after getting past the Mexican, the two of them were fighting heavily, and behind in the camera shot you can see Matteo defending slightly versus Dave. Dave getting a tap on the rear end here from Zen, and I think what there's been a domino effect of contact, and Power Bill has actually been overtaken in the proceedings here by Zen as Power Bill went defensive, but it didn't work out, and Zen now up into P10. A great move there by Zen, and we'll take a look back at that. So to give you an idea here, we're going to ride on board with Zen as he came all the way down. Now watch Power Bill. He's going to go to the inside to defend, but then he pulls back over. But this is where Zen comes in like a... Well, he doesn't make contact there, actually, with Dave. Instead, it was Power Bill who made the initial contact, but both of them tapped the rear of the Canadian driver. But in the end, Zen made it count, and that's why he's gained the place, as we're still riding on board with him in the live cameras. But now we go back to the exterior cameras. It's the final lap, of course. DMRL has gained the gap on Texas Doyle. Our top two still as they were. Kazuya in P3's got Enjoy increasingly getting close to the back of him right now. The Polish driver really starting to come alive here, and in terms of the fastest stat, it's the Turkish driver of GTTY's DMRL who is holding on to that for the time being as they all flow through the right-hander at turn number 9 and head down the hill towards turn number 10. Now behind him you can see Dachu's still in this weird no man's land where he's not able to gain on the guys ahead of him, but he's pulling away enough from the guys behind, and I think for Dachu, he's got himself in a good position here to work with Enjoy later on in terms of the reverse grid race in race number 2, because you think he'll only be up 2 positions ahead of Enjoy, but the two of them could work together and come up with a strategy. But meanwhile, we can see Speed Hunt here. He's got Matteo right on his 6. Matteo not letting this go, and I think the Mexican driver is actually struggling a little bit because he's falling backwards towards Matteo very rapidly as Matteo goes a little bit wide there. The number 583 car going sideways into Puon and almost heading off the circuit. But that's how hard he's driving that car right now. He's driving it right on the limit and trying to hunt down Speed Hunter here. But I think if he's going to do it, he's got to get that gap down to roughly 2 tenths coming out of Stablo, because he is losing the time right now, and you can see he's pushing everything, but perhaps he needs to calm it down just a little bit on this final lap, because otherwise I think he's going to be making too many mistakes. But nice rotation there through Stablo 1. He's definitely trying to close this down, Speed Hunter, but the gap is 6 tenths, and to close down 6 tenths here as he loses out in Stablo 2, I do not think he's got enough time. But meanwhile, our race leader, well, he's got a gap of 9 tenths to the second over Texas Doyle as they flow through Blanchimont here. Meanwhile, Kazuya is clear of Enjoy for the time being as they all drift their way through Blanchimont accomplishment. You love to see it. But as he makes his way into the bus stop chicane and heads through the final 2 corners, it is going to be, unless he makes a mistake here, it is going to be the number 722 car from GTBE of DMRL who takes the win in race number 1 ahead of Texas Doyle, P3 to Prima Kazuya, Enjoy P4, Seb 72 P5, next Statue in P6 for ATR, followed by Speed Hunter who held on the end for P7, Matteo in P8, Anzen in P9, Dave in P10, Primo's Power Bill in P11, Corinto P12, and Sayat Leon finishing last of our runners here in P13, but no less than anybody else as he crosses the line. Congratulations to all of our drivers, but a special congratulations to our race winner, GTTY DMRL representing GTB from Turkey. What a brilliant start to the proceedings tonight for Group C. And as we save the replay there and also take a look at the race results. Here are the race results subject to any stewards' inquiries, of course. GTTY DMRL winning in the end by 8 tenths of a second over Texas Doyle. The GTD driver putting the pressure on the winner, but at the same time falling back towards the end and perhaps just conserving the car for race number 2. Primus Kazuya rounding off our podium. And then it was Enjoy from ATR and Seb 72 from WSR completing our top 5. The rest of the order, ATR Statue, followed by GTMX's Speed Hunter, PRT's Matteo, and Zane from GTBE. TGT CQ's Dave round off our top 10. Prima Power Bill in P11. Corinto from GTD in P12. And Sayat Leon rounded off the field in P13. Of course, we do have the absence of the fellow P1 driver of Joker PA9, who may be joining us, may not be joining us. We'll find out as we get the switch over there to race number 2. Now, as we check in with you guys and girls in the chat, and we're glad to see that you've all been enjoying fantastic races so far, and we're also grateful for the compliments from you guys with regards to the commentary. Really appreciate that. At the same time, what can we expect in race number 2? So it's a reverse grid race and 13 laps. Reverse grid always throws up an interesting conundrum for our drivers, and the simple reason for that is if you won the race, now you start right at the back. And what that will mean is effectively you have technically got slower drivers ahead of you. But remember, for the slower drivers who do not normally see the front of the field in qualifying or in terms of, say, a sprint race, for them it's a case that they've got massive points up for grabs. If you start on pole because you finished last, so in the case that will be GTD's not Corinto, my apologies, that will be the P1 driver, Sayat Leon. He'll start on pole. His target may be to finish in the top 5 by the end of the 13 laps. So as a result, the slower drivers will not be as willing just to let you through because they've got massive points up for grabs. They are not going to necessarily race within their grouping in that. And that is what can make the reverse grid races a major challenge. Secondly here, we do have, at least, well, we believe for the majority of our drivers here, we have a mandatory pit stop. Now, we saw in Group F, everybody went for a single pit stop in either lap 6 or lap 7. We did see one driver in the second feature race go for the pit stop on lap 8, and it did not work out for them. But the biggest challenge here will be fuel saving for our drivers because of the fact that these cars can only go 6 laps when fully revved out. So using the full rev range of the car, the full engine power of this car, and using the best possible gear for every single corner, it will be the case that our drivers will only make 6 laps. That means they will need to short shift, they will need to use fuel modes, they will need to use the slipstream of the guy in front. And we saw how that worked out for Honey Seidel in Group F in the fact that he jumped from P10 to P3 in a single pit stop. Will somebody be able to do that, or will we hear about the legendary no-stop? Will we see it here today? But let's find out then, ladies and gentlemen. The countdown has started. Race number 2, 13 laps. Who's going to be the winner? So as we pan down to the grid this time, it is, of course, the P1 driver there of what is Sayat Leon starting off our field. Corinto in P2, Powerbill P3, Dave P4, and the rest of the field to follow. But watch out for Texas Doyle. I think this time he's going to have to deal with the fact he's got DMRL right behind him, but he will want to take the win here. Or will it be somebody up the front of the field who holds on to the win to the finish? So, of course, we'll be getting our rolling start procedure underway as Sayat Leon there in a bit of an odd moment. I think he's got a bug here, and that's going to cause the field to bunch up. Now, will he know not to leave the race? He doesn't have to leave. He can just simply turn the car in. Or is it completely locked in place? Now, he's able to turn the car here, but that means he Oh, hold on. I think he's got. He's got. Oh, goodness me. Something has gone very wrong for Sir Leon. I think he is out of the proceedings here. But we are seeing a flash of lights. We will wait and see whether we are going to get a restart of this one. But you can see Corinto immediately slowing things down as much as he possibly can here and letting the field bunch up. But Sir Leon stuck in a bit of a bug there and going round in circles. But I think we are going to go racing, which is very unfortunate. So it will be Corinto who takes us away, as Sir Leon, I believe, has just withdrawn from this one, and we are not going to get the restart. So it will be Corinto from GTD who gets us underway. And away we go, ladies and gentlemen, as Corinto comes up to speed. And I believe we're going to go racing as they come up the hill through Rouge and Radion here. Everybody going charging up the hill. Corinto getting a good start there versus Power Bill. Power Bill, and it is a restart, ladies and gentlemen. I thought it may be the case. We are getting the call for the restart. So we will not quite be going racing just yet. We've had Sir Leon's little bug there, but we will get the manually set grid and we'll be going again. So bear with us just a little bit more. It's going to be approximately a 2 to 3 minute delay right now whilst we get the grid reset. As I believe we actually do have a driver or two stuck on the start. Well, stuck on where they started. It's Seb and also Enjoy. We're actually stuck here in position. We're seeing a lot of drivers actually being forced to leave the lobby. So we have definitely got some technical issues to iron through here. And I think that's going to delay us by about 3 to 4 minutes, in fact. It does happen, but I think many of us will be looking forward, of course, to what is Gran Turismo 7 and potentially these bugs are being removed. But to be fair, the GT Sport platform doing us fantastic wonders of being able to give us the opportunity to have drivers from all over the world racing one another. But we see there plenty of individuals enjoying the time, and I believe some drivers, well, sorry, some sim racers in the YouTube chat talking about potentially meeting up in the near future, as we do get the lobby crashed. So we are going to be expecting an alternate lobby to be opened, as we can see Michael Pagan Griso there saying go guys go. We will be going very shortly, but we do have some slight technical issues to iron through. But whilst we are waiting, of course, I just want to address a quick side comment which was posted by MS3300 in the chat. Will you ever record War Thunder again? In the future, definitely got something planned, but right now my focus is on sim racing and commentating for sim racing, something I absolutely love to do. But I just wanted to address that, and I will put up a post on the YouTube channel within the next couple of weeks regarding that. But whilst we are waiting, of course, bear with us, folks. A little bit of patience goes a long way, as they say, and we are just going to check whether we've got everything sorted. Give us a brief moment. Okay, apologies about that. We were just checking it. Okay, there is the reformed lobby by Seb72. So we're bringing the lobby back up once again. And these things do happen, of course. As you'll hear the sound of an Audi R18 2016's diesel engine with its battery rev very shortly. This is not the sound of a Porsche engine. Alrighty, folks. Well, we are getting everybody into lobby now, so we're expecting everyone to be readied up very shortly. When they do, we will be going racing, as we'll get the grid order set by the host. As we see an issue, I think, therefore, Speed Hunter, he may be coming back very shortly. I hope that's nothing too major. But everyone will be asked to ready up so we can set the grid. As we also say hello to PRT's Pioro or Pyro. Yeah, and everybody has been asked to stay in the pits so we can do the manual grid. Mateo there being a little bit cheeky to be driving around right now, but I think everything will be okay. as we just check in with our stewards, just trying to see if there's any word from our stewards. I don't think there's going to be anything with regards to this, as we see Speed Hunter is definitely having some technical issues because he's just left the lobby again. Whilst we are waiting, of course, it's time for our drivers to prepare themselves mentally for the racing ahead. Whilst we are waiting for that grid to be set, here is the case. What can we expect? I think we are getting the call for potentially our backup host Matteo to make the lobby. We'll see whether that is going to be executed or not. As we continue to wait here, folks, again, we will be back racing probably within the next 5 to 10 minutes right now whilst we're getting things sorted out. Do bear with us. These things happen. As we see Matteo here just doing a little, well, putting on a little bit of a show for us by continuing to put in some laps. We should also say hello to Chley Baku, or Chley Baku, I believe that's probably how you say it. In the chat, we've also got ATR Benek there. Good to see you, Benek. I think we do have our ATR drivers taking to the circuit here and wanting to show off for the fans and the viewers. And we should oblige them by giving them a little bit of camera time there as they make their way through Dachu there with a very nice run through Origin Radion and enjoy it following suit as well. Lovely liveries on all the cars, of course. It's great to see the different types of liveries that our teams are using, whether it be single colours, multiple colours, all the advertising, the logos. It's great to see such variety, and of course, and whilst this is a team championship in terms of finishing positions and needing to score every single point, it's also a team championship in terms of the different liveries and the fact that each team represented here has its own unique identity, and you do love to see it. And there's so many different liveries being featured. I don't think we can say there's one livery in particular that stands out amongst the rest. It's just the case they're all very unique, as we have been given the thumbs up from Seb72 here to go racing. I think we are proceeding with things and we are getting the countdown. I think we are going to be missing Speed Hunter for this one, so we will be down to a grid of 12 drivers. As they make their way around, then it's time to go racing. Race number 2. So as we pan down to the grid, it will once again be the P1 driver, Assetto Leon, who tries to take us away, with Corinto lined up behind him. Powerville P3, Dave P4, Anzane P5, Matteo P6, Dachu P7, Seb P8, Enjoy P9, and then further down the order all the way down to what is DMRL, who will start at the back of the field, our race winner in race number 1. Now Assetto Leon gets ready to take us away. It's another technical issue here for the Italian driver, so we will be defaulting back to our alternate option of what will be Matteo hosting the lobby, I think, as we will not be going racing here with drivers caught up back. As we can see, Corinto will be at the head of the pack here, but it's another bugged situation here, and Corinto right now making his way down to the start-finish line. But we can see everybody having a difficult time of things as Corinto makes his way all the way down towards the source. But we'll wait for confirmation from Seb as to whether we are definitely going racing or not. But I think it will be that situation where we are going to get a restart here. Corinto takes us through the source once again. We look back from Corinto's car right now. And he's just balancing the throttle out here, keeping it at that predefined speed, making sure that nobody gains a major advantage. You can see Class doing everyone up here. Zen is taking a little bit of an off-centre line there, but now he tucks back in, and we're about to go racing. Well, I believe, unless Seb says we're not going racing again. But there they go. They all pull away immediately, and Zen immediately trying to, where's their case? He's held positions. Matteo backs out there, but Matteo feinting a move onto the inside. But I do believe, well, we are going racing, ladies and gents, but there's no doubt about it. There's no call for a restart here. So this is race number 2 right now, and Corinto going defensive versus Powerbill very early on here. He feels that Powerbill's got an overspeed coming down into Lacombe, and he wouldn't be incorrect in guessing that, as behind we can see Zen with Matteo. Matteo going for a very late move on the brakes, and Matteo getting that very wrong. He's gone off into Narnia as they come around through Lacombe, and you can see he's going to rejoin, but he's going to rejoin there onto what is turn at number 9's entry point, and as they come all the way through the right name, the right-hander, you can see it's the fact that Matteo has lost out massively in that run as they come down the hill right now, and as they come down to turn 10, Matteo trying to go around the outside of Texas Door. He's knocked a little bit wide there as they flow down towards X corner, and Matteo with one brave move for P3 has dropped all the way down to P11 as we see South Leon there raising the question of a restart, but I think we are continuing to go racing. It will be the case that South Leon and a number of drivers will miss out on this one, so we've only got 11 drivers in this race, but where we've got a lower number of drivers, I'm sure the quality of the racing will make up for the lack of quantity in drivers as they come charging down through Pawn Corner here, and ahead it's Corinto who's held off Powerbill for the time being, and TGT CQ Dave really trying to close up here on Powerbill. He's trying to put that pressure on, but there's no way through for the time being as Powerbill is really starting to fall back off of our race leader for now. But will it be the case that it's all about the fuel saving here? And that's the question as well. When will we expect our drivers to stop trying to make moves on one another, instead focus on tucking in behind? Now, if you're in the situation of someone like Corinto, here's the hard part for Corinto. Remember, he's got nobody to fuel save off of, but he can determine the pace of the rest of the field behind him, unless somebody behind thinks they're faster than him on a fuel saving strategy. So that's what Corinto's got to do. He needs to define the pace of this field, and then it's up to everyone else to react to what that pace is going to be. As you see, they all make their way through Blanchimont, all attacking it very hard, as we see the return of Speed Hunt here, and behind, look at Zen. He's looking for the potential move on the inside, but he can't quite find it right now, can the Frenchman, and that's the issue. Zen is looking for a potential move versus Dave, but every time he does, as it looks though, Powerbill's got it very wrong on the exit of bus stop, and as they come across that timeline onto lap number 2, it's 2x2 formation here. Zen backs out immediately, but Dave versus Powerbill. Powerbill is going to try and hold to the inside here after a poor run out of what was the bus stop chicane, and behind you can see Zen. Well, hold on a second, we've lost Zen, because that is a disconnect if I've ever seen one, as he's just completely disappeared around the circuit, and we can see Zen has retired with internet connectivity issues by looks of things. But as we look back to the race now, it's Powerbill who holds on for the time being, but Dave really putting the pressure on, and Powerbill and Dave both going wide there through Rouge and Radion, and as a result, as they come over the crest of the hill, they'll both pick up half-second penalties. You can see them there, and this is going to bring Dachu back into the fight, although he's picked up half-second penalties. In fact, all of our top 4 have picked up half-second penalties for the track limits at turn 5, and as they all come down to the braking zone now for what is Lacombe, you can see that Seb, meanwhile, staying right there with them, tucking in behind them and closing up very rapidly is Seb, but now it's a case that Seb's as close as he possibly can. Will he now look for potential moves, or will the number 8 car decide to back it off here? I think our top 4 cannot figure out what order they want to be in, and as they come down the hill here, you can see Dachu going for a move on the inside of Dave here. It wasn't the cleanest, but he's got the move done. He's made it count, and as they come through to X corner right now, Dachu really feels as though he's got the pace here to move further up that order. There's no doubt about that, as he now surges down towards what is Puon corner, going down into turn number 12, and as they come flowing down the hill, we can see how close it's getting under braking, and this is a great opportunity for Corinto to potentially pull away. As we ride on board here with Power, you're right on board with the Greek driver in P2, and look how close the Polish driver of Tashu, he's going for the move, he's going to go for it here into campus, or is he? As Power tries to shut the door, but he can't quite get it shut enough, but Dachu backs out of it, realising he's going to be on the outside on a corner where there's only really one way through unless you've got a major grip advantage around the outside, and it's too early yet to have that grip advantage, so as a result he tucks back in behind right now, but this is giving our race leader the ability to gradually break away, and it means now Power Bill is dictating the pace of the rest of the field here, and this is the problem. As soon as you become the head of that pack, you end up in this very uncomfortable situation where you have to essentially decide, do I fight my positions, do I let the guys behind me through, do I feel safe, what do I do here to manage my race? And Corinto will be breathing a sigh of relief right now as they make their way through Blanchimont corner for the second time of asking, because he can just take it nice and smooth. He can let himself pull back into this battle when he wants to, but Dave meanwhile has to go defensive versus Seb. Seb goes around the outside here. Can he hold it to the inside into 20? He's going to go for it as Dave makes a little bit of a turn in there, but he recognises Seb's there. Seb versus Dave, they're going to have a drag race down towards turn 3, but I think Seb's got the overspeed here as they come out, and it is the case that Seb's up into P4 there with a classic move, the outside to inside into bus stop, and he's got it done. But remember, Dave now can use Seb as his bar of what the pace should be, making their way onto lap number 3. And looking a bit further back here, we can see that Texas Store in P8 right now, DMRL in P9, and then we've got Matteo in P10. These guys have fallen back a little bit, particularly Matteo with that mistake so early on in the race. Very, very enthusiastic to try and gain places, but it hasn't worked out for the Polish driver. But now here's the thing for Matteo that you have to think about, ladies and gentlemen, is the fact that whilst he's at the back, he has no pressure on him now to potentially drive fast. Instead, he can determine how much fuel saving he wants to do. As we see here, Dachu going for the move versus Power Bill. It's been building up to it. He looks to the inside here into turn number 7, and as they go through Lecom, you can see Power Bill there trying to Mario Kart his way over the bollards there, but of course he'd be running through the bollards. That's just a glitch on our screens as they make their way through turn number 9, and Dachu holds the position. A nice move there from Dachu, but now he is the one that head his pace. Now he's got a gap of 1.8 seconds to close down on Corinto here. Will he be able to close it down, or will he lose out? That will be the big question as they make their way in towards X corner. We will wait and see, but if Corinto can keep that gap and keep the fuel saving at a good level, he will hold on to it right now as they come down towards Puon corner for the third time of asking. Behind them, you can see here we have got Seb in P4. He's trying to find a way up against Power Bill right now. He's got past Dave, of course, but he drifts a little bit there into the corner, and Dave going even deeper on the drift into Puon corner and getting it wrong. You can see Dave has had to collect the car. He's lost out massively there, and now Enjoy is going to be all over the back of him down into campus, and Enjoy is going to go for the move. And he can't find it as Dave has gone defensive there into campus as they make their way through. Look at Kazuya. Kazuya's trying to now get the cutback on Enjoy here as they come through. Enjoy's losing so much time, being tucked in behind Dave. And as they come into the right-hander here of what is Stavlo 1, you can see how it's the case. Kazuya really trying to put that pressure onto the Polish driver. The Polish driver not letting him come through. And Kazuya just cannot find a way through it. And Texas Doyle is closing up, as well as what is behind them. We've got DMRL. And then we've got behind them, of course, our Matteo driver who's in P10. And he will be trying to close up as much as he can with these guys fighting, and this is the thing, the fighting they're doing as Enjoy looks the inside versus Dave here. They come through and Dave goes wide through Blanchimont. He's going to return to the circuit, but Kazuya comes through now. Can Kazuya make it a 2 for 1? Well, he's not going to be able to. He's too close here, but meanwhile I can tell you Seb is making the move for P3. He's going around the outside to inside once again versus Power Bill, and Seb is up into P3, but now he's got to try and hold on to it as they make their way down towards the braking zone for turn 1. And behind, I can tell you, it is the fact that Enjoy has held off Kazuya for the time being, but this is building up nicely as it's meanwhile DMRL has made the move on Dave here down into La Source with Dave on a very poor run. But remember, DMRL's got to go all the way around the outside. He just about gets the grip on corner exit there, and it's going to be a drag race. But remember now, Dave will start pulling over to the right side, as will DMRL. They settle down here. I think they both recognise the fact there's no point fighting, because they're going to fall off the back of Texas Oil. And if they do that right now, well, for DMRL in particular, it's going to be a nightmare situation, because then he's got to push hard. He's got to use extra fuel to catch up to Texas Oil, his rival so far over the course of the proceedings tonight. Now, meanwhile, we look back up to Seb. He's continuing to chase after Dachu and also Corinto right now. Corinto has picked up another half-second penalty for his troubles for track limits through at Radion. But as we look back, we'll take a look at how Seb made the move for P3. Now, this was moments ago, and as we ride on board here with Seb, what you're going to see, Powerbill has a really sluggish run out of Blanchimont, but Seb, as a result, does his standard outside to inside here. Now, as they come down to the braking zone, of course, Powerbill defends, but Seb, he feels as though he's got the greater confidence. He squeezes Powerbill's amount of racing room to the inside of the curb there of turn 90. He's allowed to do that because Powerbill had some room, but Seb, knowing how to use the racing line there and also the racing room rule to his advantage and gaining another position, and Powerbill falling back immediately here. When we get to lap 6, we will check the telemetry data for you, ladies and gentlemen, with regards to tyres and fuel to get an idea of what everyone's doing. But right now, based on the average pace being a 2:33 and Powerbill going a little bit wide there out of Purn corner, almost losing the car on the AstroTurf, just collecting the car. I think Powerbill might have been caught a little bit napping at the wheel there, and he's picked up a half-second penalty to add to his woes. It is the case that Powerbill, I think, really starting to fall backwards, but Seb is getting a move on. He's all over the back of Dachu right now, and it looks as though the Frenchman really is trying to find a way to get a move on, and I do wonder here whether it's the case he might be on a one-stop and other drivers are looking to try and no-stop or do something more inventive, because Seb is using a huge amount of pace on circuit and he's all over the back of the ATR driver. Now, Corinto, meanwhile, is 2 seconds clear of these guys and he's continuing to hold that gap nice and wide, as we can see him just going through the foreground of your camera shot then to Blanchimont. But as they make their way through the corner right now, Dachu versus Seb, will Seb do it a third time here? Will he go around the outside again? Surely someone's got to wise up to it, and it's Dachu this time who goes to the outside-inside line here and makes Seb take an inside line to try and go for the move, but instead Dachu parks on apex here. But look at the gap they're avoiding to Corinto. Corinto had the gap open up. He's had a poor run out the corner. If Corinto can now bust it, he's going to gain a couple more attempts lap on lap. As we go on to lap number 5, and behind Enjoy now has got Kazuya, Doyle, and also DMRL all over the back of him here. But you can see how Doyle's looking for the move on Kazuya, but Kazuya not being distracted by the potential feint of the GTD driver. Now, for Doyle at this point, I think what Doyle's got to try and do, he knows he's got a lot of pace. He's probably one of the strongest drivers here tonight. What he needs to think about is how does he get Kazuya to make a mistake. So he won't want to fight, because if he fights right now, to give you an idea, he's 6.5 seconds off the race leader, and with no matter amount of fuel saving, that 6.5 seconds is too much to make up through overall fuel saving in the pits. With the refuel rate being approximately 7 litres per second, that would mean, or 7% per second, it would be the situation where essentially Doyle's got to save the best part of approximately 40 litres more by comparison with Corinto. As we hold on, so I think we just had a bit of contact between DMRL and Dave there. We're going to take a look back at that very shortly, but as they flow through here and we can see DMRL holds on to the position, I think there was a major knock on the rear end. Let's take a look. So as they made their way up towards the corner here, we're going to take a look from Dave's perspective what exactly happened. Was it just a latency spike, which can happen here as they made their way into the braking zone then for Lacombe? Dave, of course, will be looking for that 150-metre board. He's coming in a bit too hot here, and I think Dave turned into a brief missile. And fortunately for him, the ping-pong mechanics meant that DMRL got a boost through the corner there, and Dave was able to back off there. But that's what happened, for those who were wondering, as we see Mateo is closing up to the back of Dave here. Now, meanwhile, our race leader holds on Dachu, where he's cleared Seb now. He's got a gap of 7 tenths to 8 tenths of a second. I think there may have been a mistake from Seb earlier on in the lap. As behind, we can see Powerbill right now, the Greek driver, where he's got Enjoy, he's got Kazuya closing up to the back of him. There's a lovely camera shot here as they all come through campus and head down towards Stavlo, but you can definitely see how Powerbill is feeling a huge amount of pressure, the Prima driver, as they come through the corner. Of course, he's got his teammate Kazuya trying to come through. Now, I wonder if those guys are on comms and perhaps trying to work out an arrangement here of how they can make this work to their mutual benefit, because I think a lot of the drivers here at Racing as part of the teams, they will want to work together and help one another out as much as they possibly can. Now, for Powerbill, he needs to find a way of keeping Enjoy nice and tucked in behind him, so that way when it comes to the pit stops, Powerbill and Kazuya can come out together and work the rest of the race together. That may be something they're thinking about right now as they make their way up into the braking zone here for what is bus stop. And you can see there how Kazuya is closing under braking versus Enjoy, so much so that Enjoy pulled to the middle of the road initially to try and block the run from Kazuya. But it is a situation right now where Enjoy, I think, knows he doesn't want to let Kazuya come through, because if he does get through, it means the two Prima drivers will start to work together and use direct tactics, and that's something he cannot afford to do, because remember, Enjoy, his teammate Dachu is up in P2 right now, so he hasn't got a teammate to work with. Instead, he's got to try and find a way to stay in the race as they make the way out of La Source through turn 2 and up towards the Origin Radion. But we can see our race leader Corinto has made a mistake so on the lap, because he's lost a lot of time versus Dachu as he makes his way over the crest of the hill. He's lost the best part of 8 tenths of a second, and that is continuing to come down. He's got a half-second penalty as well to compound his woes, as meanwhile Dachu here is continuing to close down. Now, that last lap from Seb was a 233.0, almost matched his fastest lap of 232.7. And Dachu, by comparison here, we can see it was a 232.993, a little bit faster than Seb. And then Corinto, our race leader, a 233.4. I think Corinto's starting to hit a brick wall in terms of pace, and as a result, everyone's now starting to catch up. Or has he just taken a bit too much fuel out of the car? Well, let's find out as we look at the telemetry. Now, we see that Corinto has got approximately around 40% fuel remaining, whereas in the case of Dachu, look how much fuel he's taking in the car. He's down to 30%. Dachu is definitely at a risk here with regards to his fuel situation. Meanwhile, we can see Seb there on approximately 42% fuel. So Seb has got the best fuel out of the top three here. He won't be going for the no-stop based on that amount of fuel remaining. Meanwhile, then we've got Power Bill down on 25%. The Greek driver has been pushing hard. And then we've got Enjoy here with just shy of 40%. He's about 42% as well. So we see Power Bill there getting a tank slapper coming out of Puon. And as a result, almost losing the car again. And then we have got here Kazuya on approximately 45% fuel. Texas Doyle on about 40 to 38%, and then we have got further back here, we've got DMRL who's on about 32%. We have got Dave there on about 37, 38, and then we've got Matteo right now in P10, last of our runners, on what is 47. He's been doing a lot of fuel saving as Matteo, and that's how he's going to get himself back into the race, is by fuel saving this race to victory. As we can see, he makes his way through, but everybody looking at the one stop here, nobody looking at a potential no stop. So everyone pushing around here, and as they make their way down towards what is a bus stop, once again we can see Corinto really being closed up, as he's got, well, it looks though Seb's going to go all the way around to Dachu, and that's come out of nowhere there. He's come from very far back, and Dachu just simply losing out as we see Power Bill under pressure here from End. Oh goodness me, Power Bill wanted to go into the pit. Power Bill wanted to pit, and that's a disaster for the Greek driver. Oh my good lord there, and Power Bill getting caught out with drivers coming through as Matteo also comes in, and that has cost him massively. Now there's multiple things we need to take a look back, but firstly let's take a look at Seb. So we're riding on board with Seb here. We're going to see, is there a case he gets a really good run through Blanchimont? Well, he does. Dachu gets it wrong then as the brake on Apex. And here's the overspeed. Dachu there defends the inside. But look at Seb. Look at the momentum he had coming down into the corner. Meanwhile, further back here, we can see Power Bill. Well, he had Enjoy come on the inside. And he just simply, I think he thought Enjoy was going to go into the pits. And Kazuya trying to come through there. And I think Power Bill there just got caught out with regards to expecting drivers to come into the pits. I think he assumed incorrectly that drivers were going to pit. He's in the pit box right now, but meanwhile we've had a change of race leader here, and it's Dachu who's up into the race lead, and we'll take a look back at that shortly. But Corinto has just lost the lead, and now they make their way down towards turn number 10 here on lap number 7, and surely they must be lining up for pit stops very shortly as we see Corinto now. He's got Seb trying to muscle his way through on the inside into 10, but Corinto just about shuts the door in time. But the number 5, 6, 7 driver is definitely starting to fall down in terms of pace, but he's trying to hold on to his position for the time being. He's doing everything he can as they make their way down towards Puon corner here, but will Seb look for a move? He's going to look for on the inside here into Puon, but it's a risky move into Puon corner because it closes up to such a tight apex so early on. But Seb decides, no, I'll wait for an opportunity, I'll wait for the bus stop chicane instead. But Dachu is taking the time away from these guys right now. He's breaking away already. You can see that gap has opened up to 8.5 tenths, up to 9 tenths, and Seb's got to find a way through rapidly because right now he is losing out massively in the chase stakes as they come through campus. And as they make their way now around towards Stavlo once again, we see Seb creeping ever closer to the back of Corinto. We're right on board here with our P2 man, our GTD driver here, who fights valiantly on, and Seb trying to close up as much as possible. You see at the rear of the pitch there, Enjoy, Texas Doyle and Kazuya all chasing nose to tail through Stavlo 2. But right now, focusing on the battle for P2, we see Seb has fallen back a little bit here coming out of the exit of Stavlo 2. And I think perhaps he's just waiting to line up the move in through Blanchimont and into a bus stop. It's where Seb works best. He works best in this final set of 3 corners. So they make their way into turn number 18 here. Will we see Seb come charging through? In fact, no, Seb not having a good run. They're getting it wrong this time. And in fact, he has to back off. Now, will we see everybody peel into the pits here? That'll be the question. Seb looks for a move. He comes from very far back, but that's more of a feint of a move. And we see Seb stays out here, as does Dachu. Well, in fact, Dachu into the pits. Seb stays out. Everybody else is piling into the pits here. It is literally the parade of pit stops. And now, what about Matteo here? Of course, he pitted, as did Power Bill. But Power Bill had the damage on the car to repair. Matteo did not. So Mateo's jump power Bill, but Seb soldiers on for one more lap at least, if not two more laps here. And I'm wondering if this is a gamble in terms of the overall strategy stakes. We will wait and see. But as they make their way down now, we can see that Seb here has got himself track position. But remember, it's likely that when our drivers come out, they'll be on fresher tyres, and they'll also have that full tank of fuel to be able to go on the offensive. So I think Seb's actually going to lose time rather than gain it by going one lap longer. But it depends on how everybody comes out. As we see Dave in the pits right now being serviced, the Canadian driver, they're putting on the new set of Michelin tyres and now putting the fuel in the car. And we see Mateo, he's just come out the final corner. Where will he factor back into this? Of course, he was at the back of the pack when they all started pitting. We see Enjoy's already coming out, Dachi already coming out, and you look at this, Enjoy's already come out and he's underfueled the car massively. He's put it on 80% fuel, whereas Dachi's gone for 93, and Corinto has come out in P2, but how much fuel did he put in the car? Corinto has only put in 75%. That is a major gamble from Corinto. He will need to do fuel saving later in the race. And I think what Corinto is trying to do here, he's trying to get himself into a position. I think Corinto's targeting a top 5 finish. I don't think he feels he can get the win. But what he's done, he's underfueled himself slightly. So that way, when Enjoy, Dachu and Texas Doyle try to close up to him, he will gradually let one or two drivers through. By fuel saving behind them, he'll get to the end of the race. But Corinto right now has underfueled compared to everybody else. And it's shown he's got a nice gap to Enjoy. But we can imagine Enjoy will now really come through. Enjoy's got himself up to P3 because, listen, we believe that when Seb pits, Enjoy will be up to P2 and Corinto back into the race lead. Dachu has come down to P4. Texas Doyle is into P5 effectively right now. Kazuya P6. Mateo P7. And look where Mateo's come out in all of this. He's actually come out right in the middle of a battle, but he's side by side with Dave here, and it's been kicking off between the two of them. And they're still side by side into X corner here, but Mateo has to drop back a little bit, and there's just a tiny bit of contact between Mateo and Dave. And now look at DMRL, who's come out in P9. DMRL really suffering in the pit window here, dropping all the way back to P9, and then Power Bill in P10, where he's got a 6-second gap to close down to the next driver ahead of him. It has not worked out for the Greek with that, a nightmare situation with his pit stop. As all of our drivers now really make their way down through campus and focus on getting their second stint up to scratch. You do have to imagine that what's going through the mind of Mateo right now is he wants to try and get himself back up into the order. As we see Seb is into the pits, the crew are out right now. Where's Corinto? Well, he's coming through Stavlo too, and I think he's going to come out ahead of Seb. I think Seb's going to come out roughly around Texas Doyle Kazuya, unless he underfuels the car here, of course, and that could be something that Seb decides to do, because Seb has been our fastest man out on circuit so far. And we see here in the battle for P4, Daci versus Texas Doyle. Doyle all over the back of the Polish driver is the Italian, as they make their way into Blanchimont here for the 8th time of asking. They come through the corner, and Doyle getting ever closer to the ATR driver. Surely there's going to be a move on here. Dachu defends the inside. He knows that he's under major threat right now. As the camera pans around, we can see Texas Doyle looking for the cutback here. He swings to the outside to inside here through what is the second part of bus stop, and as they now come down towards that timing line, they're going to lap number 9. Texas Doyle is building up a huge amount of momentum as they make their way down to the heavy braking zone for Lasource. He's going to look for it. Doyle's going to go to the inside here. Into that braking zone they go, and will he get the move done? They're side by side coming out the corner, but he hasn't got enough speed through the exit there. He has to give Dachu the space. Dachu holds on for the time being, but Seb has come out the race lead right now, and in terms of fuel he's putting, I think Seb's putting the perfect amount of fuel here, because we can see that Corinto's on the same amount of fuel, but remember, Seb is a little bit faster in terms of average pace, and what I think Seb is banking on here is that Corinto will cost Enjoy and Dachu time in trying to get past them, and as a result Seb can break away naturally, although you can see it, Corinto not battling here, and this proves the point from earlier, folks, that it was the case that Corinto decided to underfuel with the logic. Hold on, Enjoy's gone very deep there, and as a result Corinto gets the place back. Will mark my words, but Corinto putting in the bare minimum to defend, because I think he recognises these guys will naturally get past him, but he hasn't got the fuel to go to him unless he saves. But Enjoy then making a meal out of what should have been a relatively straightforward pass, and you can see Dachu all over the back of him right now, and they've got Texas Doyle right behind them as well, and Enjoy under a huge amount of pressure right now from his teammate to get moving, because otherwise this could really cause a stockade. And as a result, we can imagine it won't be just Texas Doyle, it'll also be Kazuya from Prima and also Dave from TGT CQ closing up to the back, because they're only the best part of a second back right now on Enjoy, and they are closing up as much as they can in the run down towards Bruin Corner. As we see here is Kazuya, to give you an idea, he's got Dave chasing after him and down through the hill, and as they make their way down, you can see there that's Dave trying to get ever closer, but not close enough as they make their way through Campus Chicane one more time here. And as they all come flying through the middle speed apexes here of turns 13 and 14, we look back up towards our race leader right now, Seb, who is holding a steady gap of 1 second to Corinto behind him. And as he makes his way through here, the pressure must be massive on Seb right now not to make a single mistake. As we see Enjoy there goes a little bit wide, coming out of Stavlo too, but he keeps the car tucked in very nicely. And as they now charge down towards Blanchimont corner for the 9th time of asking, you can see how Doyle is inching closer to Dachu, but will he be able to find a way in? And that will be the big question. We ride on board here with Enjoy, looking back at the battle for P4, and it's a great viewing position here because we can see Dachu defending to the inside. Doyle looks to the outside once again here, but he decides to stay back rather than go all the way around the outside. And I think what Doyle's trying to do is trying to get Dachu to go late on the brakes and too late on the brakes and go deep into the corner. And you can see Kazuya close that. Hold up, what's happened to Corinto? Corinto has made an error, and as a result, he's dropped all the way down towards P6 here, and Corinto falling down the order like a stone as he makes his way into La Source. Now, what's happened to the Italian? We will find out. Was he was coming through, so he went wide there out of what was Blanchimont, and he had to rejoin, and I think the tyres had a lot of dirt on them as they made their way into the corner, and he's just simply gone very deep, and yet Corinto's just completely been caught out by the dirt on the tyres, and that's what's caused him to go wide out of bus stop. That's very unfortunate for Corinto because the GTD driver was doing a fantastic job trying to hold on to that P2, but just a small mistake, and he's seen it all disappear down to P6, as meanwhile our race leader, he's now got a 1.8 second gap. Enjoy has cleared Corinto, of course, with Corinto's mistake, but he's got his own teammate now, Dachu, all over the back of him, and they've got Texas Doyle, the other GTD driver, who's trying everything he can to try and get past the two Polishmen ahead. Now the ATR drivers have to make a decision here. Do they push hard after Seb, or do they work together here to try and simply hold off Texas Doyle? Well, I do think that Dachu right now is the faster of the two of them. And the situation for Dachu is effectively that what he needs to figure out is how he can get past Enjoy without holding on to, without costing the pair of them time. Because remember right now, Enjoy may feel that he is the faster driver of the two, or he may feel he's actually the slower of the two and he wants to let Dachu through. We will wait and see, as we see there from Igor Piasecki in the chat. Enjoy, it's Doctor, please hold on to the position. So some team orders there in the chat. Whether those have been related through, we will have to wait and see as they make their way through campus once again. But this is the battle for P2. 4 drivers, in fact 6 to 7 drivers you could argue, all within the space of 2.5 seconds of one another, all looking to get that P2 position. Our race leader is gradually being closed up as the fastest man on circuit right now is Prima Kazuya, who is pushing in that P5 slot. And as they come through Stavlo here, it is the case as they flow through. He's trying to find his way into this fight right now, and I think Kazuya has been patiently waiting here. Now, what can a driver do, you may be thinking at this point, to try and get ahead of the guys in front if they're all in the same car, all got the same tune? Well, we'll talk about that in a second, as Matteo's under a bit of pressure right now versus DMRL, and DMRL has got the move done there. He's up into P8 as the GTTY driver representing GTBE as they make their way through Blanchimont and head up towards what is a bus stop. And you can see here the fact, a little bit further up the camera, it's the case that, well, Enjoy and Dachu here have had a bit of an odd run, and Texas Doyle has got very close, clustered up behind Dachu here as they make their way onto lap number 11. It's no change between these guys, but they now come surging down towards La Source once again, and it is that situation where I think Seb is starting to fall backwards. And what I was going to say is the fact that you can imagine for Kazuya right now, note here that Kazuya, as we ride on board with the Frenchman and look forward from his car, he's stuck behind Doyle, Dachu and Enjoy, but remember, everybody needs to do some fuel saving to get to the end of the race. Well, what Kazuya could do is additional fuel saving to try and give himself extra fuel in the final couple of laps to push harder compared to the guys around him. And you can see Doyle there having Dachu get it wrong coming through Aruj and Radion, and as a result, the two of them have lost pace. But you can see, look at Kazuya, he's not gaining enough here. I think Kazuya is fuel saving behind these two to get to the end and have some fuel to go on the offensive on the final lap. But we do see Doyle here looking to the inside versus Dachu as they come through turn 8, and as they do, there's a bit of contact. Kazuya looks to the gap, and Kazuya gets into P4, or does he? As Texas Doyle looks to the return here, and there's a little bit of contact between Dachu and Doyle. It was always going to happen, the contact, but you can see that Kazuya's now up into P4, and he's going to attack Dachu, as meanwhile Enjoy has broken away from this. Dachu giving him the breathing room, and is now starting to close down Seb with 2.5 laps remaining here. The question will be, can Enjoy bring down the house here and bring down Seb, or will Seb have too much of the Polishman to answer? once and for all the Frenchman, as we see Kazuya meanwhile, now he's got past Texas Doyle. I'm sure he'll want to surge his way past Dachu as quickly as possible as they come roaring through the left-hander of Puyon. Here they come down the hill, and as they do so, they make their way down into the heavy braking zone for the campus, and as they come down, we can see behind them how you've got Dave being under pressure from Corinto here, but the Canadian driver not succumbing to a potential feint as they come down in towards Stavlo now. As they make their way down, you can see no changes, but everybody really starting to get a move on here, and they press their way through Stavlo 1 and in towards Stavlo 2. The Canadian holding off the Italian, who wants to try and get back into the top 6, if not the top 5, but I think Corinto has got a long way off of getting there. As meanwhile, we look back to the pictures of Kazuya and Dachu right now. We can see nose to tail here as they make their way through, and our race leader is holding on by a second with 2 more laps to go after this one. It's all going to come down to the final 2 laps. Who will be on that podium? It could be any one of our top 6 who will be on that podium, or even our top 7 right now as they make their way down. Dachu goes defensive here versus Kazuya as Kazuya looks to go around the outside, but he can't find the cutback line into bus stop here. They cluster up together. It's like a traffic jam for him. Dachu is doing everything he can to buy himself and his teammate Enjoy time, as Kazuya is doing everything, as Enjoy has just set the fastest lap of a 2:31.608. So Enjoy is now going on the offensive after the race leader, but you can see Dachu doing everything he can to park his Porsche on the apexes and prevent Kazuya and Texas Doyle from getting through. And it must be so frustrating for Texas Doyle in particular, and also Kazuya. They both know they've got so much pace, but they just cannot unleash it versus the Polishman ahead of them right now. Meanwhile, our race leader is responding to Enjoy. That last lap, Seb set a 2:32.149. Meanwhile, Enjoy was half a second faster, but you can see how Seb is responding in terms of the run down towards Lake Orme, as behind him Dachu continues to hold on versus Kazuya. And as they make their way, we can see the Prima driver, they're going a bit deeper on the brakes compared to Dachu as they make their way in through towards turn number 9. Now, what can be done? Will it be the case that Kazuya looks for a move here down to 10? He's got the momentum, but I don't think he's got the time to get alongside as they come down the hill and as they make their way down into the corner. Meanwhile, further back here, we can see Dave holding off Corinto, but he goes a little bit wide into 10. And as a result, now Corinto's going to look to the inside, but there's not enough space to get alongside and not enough time. Meanwhile, DMRL has got clear of Matteo and he's holding on to P8. He's trying to close up to Dave and Corinto on the closing laps. Oh, hold on a second. Corinto's got it very wrong and almost put it into the wall out of X there. He ran a little bit wide on the distant camera shot, and you could see the rear end just tried to come round faster than he could keep it under control. And Corinto there with a near fatal error, but he's been able to hold it together. As meanwhile, we look back up towards our leader. The gap is now 1 second and just under a second on average, as we see Enjoy still holding off Kazuya here. And we look back here from the Polishman's car, and you can see these three have been nose to tail for so long in multiple configurations. But now it's the case, the Polishman leads, the Frenchman is in the middle of the sandwich, and then the bottom of the sandwich is set up by the Italian of Texas Doyle as they make their way through Stavlo 2. And as they come all the way down now towards what is Blanchimont and then towards bus stop, the pursuit goes on, and we've only got these corners and one more lap. As we see, it's the case that Enjoy meanwhile chasing down Seb, but he's got an 0.8 of a second gap to close down. He is closing it down little by little, but Seb, I think, has balanced this out and is now unleashing his pace as much as he possibly can here. It could go either way. As we see in the rear view camera shot here, the battle for P3 carries on down towards the corner. Meanwhile, Dave and Corinto here in the battle for P6, they've got DMRL closing up to them, and he'll be in attacking distance on the final lap. As they go around then, they cross that timing line. It's one more lap to go. It's Seb who's leading. Can he hold on, or will Enjoy find a way back through here? As we see behind Dachu, Kazuya and Doyle, they're still in that sequence that they started the previous lap on, and they continue to push through. It will be a last lap battle for the top three, and now they make their way down towards Iridium, and every corner now is going to be precious. Every small detail is vital, as we see Corinto now falling back towards DMRL, and they make their way up towards Iridium, and we can see the Italian here holding off the Turkish driver for the time being, but I could expect this going to change as Dachu has set the fastest lap of 2:31.587 on that previous one. Corinto under pressure, but we can see our race leader holding on for the time being. Kazuya's not close enough to go for a move, but further back we can see DMRL looks at a move on the inside here, the outside versus Corinto on the inside. Corinto's gone earlier on the brakes. DMRL chose to go all the way round. There's a little bit of contact, but DMRL's brave on the brakes, and his bravery has been rewarded as he's up into P7, and now he's got 1.5 seconds to close down to Dave, the Canadian, ahead of him. I think it's a long way to close down if he can do it, but if he could, that would be an absolute monster effort, as meanwhile our race leader is still a second ahead of Enjoy. We look at the telemetry, he's got enough fuel. Enjoy's on the same amount of fuel as the race leader, so Seb versus Enjoy. I think they're going to hold as they are for the time being, unless there's a mistake from Seb or Enjoy is able to magic some lap time out of nowhere. But right now, the last big question is who's going to be on the bottom step of the podium? Will it be ATR Dachu? Will it be Prima Kazuya? Or will it be Texas Doyle, who has fallen back? He's dropped back to roughly 0.8 of a second, and I think it could be the case that right now Doyle's waiting for the battle between the two guys ahead to erupt, and then he's going to come into this one. I think he's just giving himself some breathing room as Dachu's really struggling for grip out of campus, and as they make their way into Stavlo for the final time here, they come around and Kazuya is all over the back of the Polish driver. The Frenchman wants it. He wants it so badly, but Dachu's just not going to let him have it. As they come out of Stavlo 2, Kazuya gets the better run. Dachu pulls to the outside here as they make the way out towards Blanchimont, and it's all about a run on the accelerator as they come up towards the corner. They're side by side, coming up in towards turn 18. They go into left-hander. Kazuya on the inside, Dachu on the outside. There's contact. Dachu makes his way onto the AstroTurf. They still head down towards the corner, but he's been pushed wide. Kazuya holds the position as they now make their way down towards the corner. Dachu gets back ahead, but he's burning the penalty. We'll wait and see as they come out the final corner. But I tell you who holds on. It is WSR Seb who wins by 1.2 seconds over ATR Enjoy, and Dachu in the end holds on to P3 ahead of Kazuya. P5 to Texas Doyle, who ran out of fuel on the finish line. It's going to be Dave who runs out of fuel, and in drama, it's Corinto who comes home in P6 because DMRL ran out of fuel, Dave ran out of fuel, and Matteo wasn't close enough to capitalise. My goodness, and it's going to be Prima Power Bill who comes home in P10. You couldn't have written the script there, folks. Congratulations to all of our drivers, but to our race winner, the Frenchman of Seb72 from Team WSR. Oh my goodness me, what a magical ending to that race, in all honesty, folks. But here are your race results, subject to any stewards' inquiries. Unfortunately, we did have a couple of retirements. Seb bringing home the win there by what was 1.2 seconds ahead of ATR Enjoy and ATR Dachu. Then we've got Prima Kazuya and GTD Texas Doyle round off the top 5. Corinto in P6, DMRL from GTTY representing GTB in P7, Dave from TGT CQ in P8, Matteo from PRT in P9, Power Bill from Prima in P10, and of course we did have the retirements of what was Anzeng from GTB, who finished P11 technically, and also what was our P1 driver of Sayat Leon in P12. We also did have the loss of GTMX's driver Speed Hunter going into this race, and I do believe we may be seeing a restart of the lobby. Or are we? I think we... So there was one restart for race 1. And we now do have a 10-minute break. So I think there's going to be something clarified between Sayat Leon and also our lobby host. But whilst we are waiting, fantastic racing throughout there, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to take a brief breather, but we will be back at what is 1942 to go racing once again and give you all the build-up to qualifying session 2. But until then, we'll be right back. Don't go anywhere, because we've got plenty of racing action ahead. Alrighty folks, we are just reforming the lobby and with it we're getting ready for the second half of the proceedings tonight. Just give us a second to go through the engine rev phase here of the lobby joining sequence. Alrighty folks, well we are back here in the lobby in the build up here to what is race number 3, and fingers crossed we will all be able to see our drivers go racing once again. Now we have had some technical issues tonight. I think we may get potentially one more restart if that, but otherwise the show will have to go on. And in the meantime, what can we expect now? As we can see there, the confirmation from Step 72, the start or the resumption with qualifying 2 will be in 3 minutes time. Well, what I can definitely say to you is since over the course of the opening 2 races and the qualifying session, we've had plenty of racing action, and we've also had some very tight moments. We've also had some very difficult moments for our drivers, as we seem to be having some issues with power bill. So we are always seemingly having one driver who cannot quite make it out of what is the lobby joining sequence, which is very unfortunate. But it's been very fast, it's been very furious, and we've got plenty more to go. As we do say hello to Manos1, we've also got Bartos Takitam, we've also got Dejef93 there, we've got Yules99. It's great to see you guys all tuning in. ATR Paput as well, supporting Team ATR. It's great to have you all guys in there. If I haven't mentioned you, by the way, I do apologise. Not meaning to ignore you or anything along those lines, but it's so great to see so many of you tuning in, and it really means a lot to see so many people tuning in for tonight's racing action. Plenty more ahead, I can assure you that. Now, of course, we go into the second qualified session very shortly, a 6-minute qualified session. This changes things. Now, you may be thinking, well, why is that? Because we've already had one qualified session. Surely it's going to be the same. We're going to see the same guy on pole, or the same couple of guys contest for pole position. Not quite the case. Remember, qualifying last time around was 15 minutes long, and we did see some drivers who absolutely nailed their qualifying lap straight away. Others took multiple times, and we are hearing that Texas Store is having some issues here, as we see for GTG Drivers EU official broadcaster 2. Hopefully this will get repaired. I must say to you, by the way, guys, with regards to the technical issues and the stewarding, I am not permitted to get involved. I'm not permitted to get involved in this, so I will just be the broadcaster. If I need to relay on a message, I will. As you see, Power Bill having issues. We do see Dachu there not being able to see Enjoy, so we have got some more issues continue to plague us here. But it's one of those situations right now where I think we have to, at a certain point, say, right, we are going to go with things. But if there are any messages to be passed on, as we do have Texas Doyle now in the lobby, I will pass them on, folks, if they're not being referenced. But we do see there that DMRL asking whether drivers could have an extra couple of minutes break between races 3 and 4, given the fact we haven't had, quote-unquote, a full break between the end of race 2 and then going into qualifying 2. But that again is for Step 72 to decide, as we see Power Bill continue to have some issues in joining the lobby. But with regards to this qualified session, the key thing to note really is the fact that because some drivers did take quite a bit of time to get in a solid lap, whereas others such as Texas Doyle had a phenomenal lap from the outset, it could lead to the qualifying order really changing up. And I would expect that if Doyle can nail his opening lap again, we may see him on pole this time, but it will be very close because DMRL took a good number of laps to get right up towards the front of the order, but once he nailed it, he really was surging up there. But he won't have as much time available to him, of course, and that is the trade-off in this qualified session. Now also, to give you a little bit of a summary in terms of the results so far. So in terms of our top 3 in this lobby, based on the finishing positions from races 1 and 2, I can tell you our current leader, only by a small margin to be fair, not by a huge margin, is the Frenchman of Seb. He's currently leading the rankings in this standing, following in this lobby, following the racing tonight thus far. But do keep in mind we've still got 2 more races to go. In P2 meanwhile, and nipping at his heels, and of course Seb with the P5 in race number 1 and the win in race number 2. And meanwhile then we have Enjoy, who's very close behind him with the P4 in race number 1 and the P2 in race number 2. We are waiting there. We can see a number of drivers just trying to sort out the technical issues, but I think we will be proceeding in a very short order. And in terms of the P3 position in the standings, to give you an idea who is in P3 at the moment, it is, well, we've got joint P2. In fact, we've also got the Turkish driver of DMRL, the GTTY driver represented GTBE. He is joint on the same points all so far with what is Enjoy, and the fact he got the win in race number 1, but he had only that P17 at race number 2. So it's very close between our top 3 right now, and you can imagine it could erupt even further as we go on and on. It does seem as though we have got some sort of connectivity issue that may be triggered because of Power Bill and also Speed Hunter. This does happen every so often where we get 2 drivers join in a lobby whereby they seem to have incompatible connections, and that will cause one driver to be able to join the lobby than the other not be able to, and in the end we end up in a situation whereby we effectively, after multiple restarts or resets of the lobby, we have to say goodbye to one driver and let another driver in. But we will wait and see what happens here, folks, as to specifically who is going to be going racing, and we'll let you know in due order. But we are just waiting to find out what's going on. I'm just checking in with the stewards as well. Okay, a new lobby is going to be created, and we're going to try and get everybody in one more time, and then it will be the case. I think we are going to go racing with whoever is able to come along. So it's one more attempt. As we say hello to one of our brilliant drivers from Group F, and that is GTD's 079 in the chat right now. It's good to see you in here, my friend. Hope you're doing well. The Italian driver putting in a phenomenal performance yesterday. And we're also there, we've got Prima Tyraf, I believe, and we've also got the returning presence of Max 4D Modelisme, who's given us the thumbs up there and a smiley face, which is always nice to see. It's good to see you all chatting away and talking about the racing and everybody getting along. Of course, supporting your respective teams, but at the same time enjoying the racing action. And we will be getting underway shortly, folks. I can assure you we will be seeing some racing in a brief period of time. We're just ironing out those technical issues, which do always arise. You've got to have those little technical gremlins. But the stewarding channels at the moment and the team communication channels being used on Facebook, conveying all the issues that are occurring in the lobby right now. Of course, what you're seeing in the chat is only a small part of the wider picture of all the teams communicating to one another to say what's happening in the lobby, where the issues are occurring. And that's one of the things about GTFusiOn. If you're wondering right now, if you're sat there right now thinking, how did my sim racing team get involved? What happens behind the scenes? I can tell you it is a huge community behind this. There are so many teams taking part. I think this year we've got 20 plus teams taking part. If I'm not mistaken, there's somewhere in the region of 20 at least, if not more. And everybody is in constant communication over Facebook and also in the race lobbies to try and get things fixed. And that is the great thing about this series, is the fact that everybody is trying to work together in order to get the racing going, because everybody wants to be a part of this. And I can tell you, haven't had the opportunity, thanks to the guys at GTBE who gave me the opportunity to race in round 2 into Lagos in what was a very memorable night in the Joker lobby, if you will, the wildcard lobby on the Friday. I can tell you that taking part of this is absolutely fantastic, and I can strongly recommend it. If you are watching right now and thinking, well, how do I get involved? Well, you just simply ask on the GTFusiOn Facebook group. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, we are green light for a qualifying 2, 6 minutes. Who's going to be on pole? So as everybody now takes the circuit, we have got 13 drivers. We have got our full pack once again ready to go racing. As we say hello to GTD Sen in the chat. I believe that's Sen, C-E-N. It's good to see you in here. And everybody immediately taking to the circuit. Matteo having a very fast run out the pit lane here. And he's actually gifted himself quite a bit of breathing room out on circuit. Now this is good news for the Polish driver because it means that he can give himself a good amount of breathing room and not have to worry about the guys around him. We see the return, of course, of GTMX's Speed Hunter right now. It's great to see him back in the lobby. And I think Speed Hunter is going to be absolutely itching to prove that he can go fast now, given the fact that he's missed out on race number 2. As we see behind Seb, they're doing a little bit of tyre warming, and then further back, Enjoy and also was Dachu. They've decided to split themselves out, and Enjoy in particular running ahead. Dachu dropping all the way down the order and simply easing off the throttle. Now, I think for Dachu, what he wants to do, he wants to stay away from everyone and be at the rear of the traffic, if you will, so that way he doesn't have as much pressure in qualifying in terms of drivers behind him. Now, some drivers like to qualify at the head of the pack because they've got all that clear air ahead of them and they don't have to worry about trying to fit themselves into the order or people picking up the slipstream with the back of their car. Other drivers prefer to be at the back where they've got clear air, and if they do catch up to a driver over the course of their qualifying lap, they may be able to get a small amount of slipstream, but of course they have the risk then of being caught up behind that driver under braking if they are on quote-unquote a fast lap. As we and Zen, they're getting it very wrong in the downhill run into turn 10 and almost sending Dachu off into the wilderness there. I think both drivers getting caught out a bit on those cold tyres and cold brakes right now, but Zen getting the car back together. That was a little bit close to call, and right at the back right now, taking his time going around the circuit, is GTD's Texas Doyle. I think Doyle thinks that he's got it on a single lap here. He will just about squeeze in a second lap if he gets across that timing line with approximately 2 minutes 33 to go, but Doyle afforded himself the greatest amount of room here. And also remember, for Doyle, he can target whoever qualifies ahead of him. So imagine, he's going to be the last driver who goes on to the final qualifying lap, so he will know everybody else's times or approximate times before he goes onto his lap. So it will give him the greatest amount of information, plus also the greatest amount of rubber down on the circuit. So theoretically, Doyle should have the greatest advantage here in qualifying. But let's wait and see as we jump on board here with PRT Matteo to take you around for what is the opening qualifying lap of qualifying 2. So as he makes his way through the bus stop here, he does get it a little bit wrong actually through the bus stop. He loses a bit of momentum, but then he builds up the car coming across that timeline. As we say hello quickly to Angelo, Art for Fun there. Good evening to you, Angelo. Hope you're doing well. And Matteo takes us down into La Source, heavy on the brakes there at the 100 meter ball, coming down to second gear. A nice line there, not going deep into the apex curve there, but gets the rear end just a little bit unsettled, and it's come around a bit sooner than he would like, and that's cost him about 1.5 tenths of a second as he makes his way through 2 and now heads up towards the Rouge and Radion here. Remember, he'll be braking into turn 3 and then snapping the car into the apex of turn 4 and then trying to straight line it over the hill here. The rear end just continuing to cook out for Matteo, and it's cost him a little bit of momentum as he now comes through 6 and onto the Kimmel Straight here. But remember, when I say a little bit of momentum, he's still going to go up to in excess of 165 miles an hour before he brakes for Lacombe. 165, 166, 67, 68, 69, 169 miles an hour before he comes into Lacombe. That is phenomenal speed as he makes his way now through turn number 8 and heads up into turn 9 as he flicks it round into the right hand here. It is the case as he comes down towards turn number 10. He'll need to nail this braking point to the best possible capacity, and as he makes his way into the right hand here, staying in third gear. And we saw a lot of drivers yesterday in Group F using second gear, but most drivers here using third gear, and I think it really is working out that third gear as he now makes his way into it. It's getting rid of the additional upshift and also the additional downshift, and as they come down the hill now towards Pillon Corner, is the case for Matteo. He'll need to nail this corner because it hasn't been the cleanest lap so far. It's been a good lap, but there's areas where he could have touched it together, and he's only going to get one more lap after this, so he needs to iron out all the mistakes now as he gets ready for his second flying lap. And as he makes his way down through corner, nice run there coming up towards campus. He'll be looking for that 100 meter board. He breaks into the corner at roughly 80 meters and coming through here nice and tight in the opens and using the snap shift there. I don't know if you saw it, a snap shift down to second, which gave him an extra rotation into the corner, but it hasn't cost him too much time because of the fact he's gone down the gearbox and back up it immediately, which means the car's settled. He's lost about an extra 2 miles an hour of braking there as he makes his way out of first part of Stavlo and into Stavlo 2 now. We're going to see him attack the exit here as much as he possibly can and now charge his way up towards Blanchimont Corner. and building up his speed here, coming up to what will be in excess of 150 miles an hour before going into Blanchimont corner. He'll be looking for his braking mark. He'll probably be targeting somewhere on the right side on one of the barriers there as he makes his way into the corner. They're coming down into the 5th gear corner of Blanchimont and now charging out. He's gone a little bit wide, and this is going to be a compromised lap for Matteo. That will be a track limits penalty most likely, unless he's just kept it. No, it is a time penalty. He burns it under trail braking, however, into the bus stop chicane, but that will have cost him a significant amount of time, and that means Matteo will go on to one more lap now as he comes out of the chicane here. His opening time he will set is a 2:31.9, but I suspect there's going to be better out there, and immediately Seb goes faster at 2:31.4. Without Speed Hunter at 2:32.5. Meanwhile, Enjoy hitting a 2:31.4, and then we've got Kazuya, not the best of openers from Kazuya, a 2:31.8, and a lot of drivers really struggling. We've got a 2:34.0 from Powerbuilt, a 33.0 from Corinto. Dave, the Canadian, with 2:32.8, but DMRL immediately shattering the boundaries here with a 2:31.2. That's 2/10 faster than Enjoy. Zen setting a 2:35.1. Everybody really being caught out here with the fact that they've got this shortened qualifying session. We see Sat Leon there with 2:35.4. Our second, well, in fact, I'll slice that, and Texas Doyle at 2:30.9 straight out of the gate. And remember, I said one driver who's going to do well in this session would be Doyle, for the simple reason he nailed qualifying 1 on the opening lap, and he's done it again here. He's got a 2.5 advantage to DMRL, and that has now set the bar so high for everybody, particularly DMRL, who will want to come back. I mean, he's got a 1 second penalty, and DMRL, who's gained half a second in the opening sector, he's got to burn that penalty before he gets that timing line. And I think it's the case that for DMRL right now, this is his qualifying session over, unless he can find a very sneaky way of trail breaking that penalty out, but I doubt he's going to do that in the spirit of fairness as he makes his way down to turn 10 right now. And we can see Enjoy meanwhile making his way out of Ix. And where is Enjoy? Well, he's in the centre of the camera right now as we can see the ATR driver making his way down through Pullman corner here. We're going to stay with him until the timing line for the end of Sector 2 as he comes up towards the second part of Stavlo, see if he does improve. But 2:31.4 to improve upon. He's 4.5 temps down on Texas Doyle. Will he be able to find a way to improve? That will be the big question for Enjoy as he flows through the campus chicane here, carrying his speed as much as humanly possible, and he goes sideways there through 14. Now the problem for Enjoy, of course, is at this point, whilst he's still got some time to go, he'll know as soon as he comes across his line here, as he's improved by 3 temps, but he has got some traffic ahead of him. Can he get close enough to Speed Hunter to potentially get a tiny bit of slipstream, or will it be the case that he catches Speed Hunter at the worst possible point, which is into bus stop as he's coming into that braking zone? We will wait and see as meanwhile all our drivers come around. And remember, it will be Matteo who's the first one to complete his lap. He's picked up a time penalty on the exit of Blanchimont here as he comes through the corner. I think for Matteo this is going to be a compromise qualifying session as we see Seb drifting his way into the corner here. They all come across a timing line now to complete their qualifying session, and what will it be from our drivers? Well, Seb, he does not improve, and then it is going to be Enjoy who's definitely going to improve here. He improves to a 2:31.1. Kazuya a 2:30.7. Well, I wonder about Texas Doyle here, but before we do, let's just see if we've got any more drivers coming through as we see Dave improves to a 2:31.3, putting in provisional P5. We've got more drivers coming across the line, and we can see at the rear of your picture, I think that's Dachu coming across the line right now. No, that's not Dachu. He's coming through, but he's got traffic as Anzane improves to 2:31.6. Dachu's got the traffic of Sat Leon here. The two of them both on laps. They come across that line, and it's Sat Leon improves. But what about Doyle? Does he get pole back? He crosses the line. He gets pole position by a 10. Texas Doyle takes pole for race number 3. It's time to see how they get on in the second sprint. So as they pan down to the grid, it's Texas Doyle who lines up on pole. Behind him, Prima Kazuya with a phenomenal qualifying session in P2. ATR Enjoy in P3, DMR in P4, and our third row, Dave from Canada and Dachu from Poland, rounding off our top 6. Now it will be for Texas Doyle to take us underway for the manual rolling start. Remember, our drivers will start racing once they cross underneath the billboard coming out of turn 2, and they make the run up towards the Rouge Radion, and they're only allowed to start battling and overtaking once they have cleared Radion and start to make their way down to the Kimmel Straight. Now do keep in mind, for Texas Doyle, this is uncharted territory for him. He started behind people in the sprint race as he gets the manual rolling start procedure underway, and he'll bring the car's speed down here to let everyone to cluster up. But now he is the guy who determines the pace in the sprint race here and gets us underway. And that is a unique place to be in such a race such as this, for the simple reason he's going to have all the pressure. And as we can see here, riding on board with Doyle as we look back from his car. Or will we get the ability to look back from his car? We do indeed get that ability to look back. A little glitch there. We can see everybody now coming together, and it's for Texas Doyle to take us racing. And we're go as Doyle gets the jump. There you can see he got a really good start versus Kazuya, who really bogged down. And as a result, Kazuya's going to be under major pressure from Enjoy as they come through Rouge and Radion. Everybody coming over the crest of the hill in rapid succession. And DMRL has really got close to the back of Enjoy as well. It's really not worked out for anybody behind Doyle. As you can see, Enjoy is squeezing DMRL to his side. Kazuya's got a lot of momentum here, but he's not close enough to go on the offensive versus the Italian who goes defensive. As Enjoy holds off DMRL. Behind Dave loses the place to Dachu early. As Dachu goes around the outside, he looks for a potential move on DMRL. Is he going to be able to get a 2-for-1 special here, the Polish driver, and close up to his teammate as they make their way through 9? He's still there on the outside, but he's pushed a little wide here up onto the race curb. And as they come down the hill, DMRL holds on to P4 for now, but he's had to work very hard to hold on to that position as he goes deep into what is turn 10. As they make their way through into X, DMRL holds on for the time in. As look at Zen. Zen's coming through on the inside versus Dave. The Frenchman's up into P6. He's had a disastrous opening 2 races. But Zen's on a charge right now, the GTBE driver. He wants to get right up there into the mix, as it's Dave who is falling down the order like a stone on this opening lap. He started P5, he's down to P7. Seb's trying to get through into that position right now as they come down through corner. Mateo's all behind in PRT as they come down the hill here in towards campus. Mateo's on the inside here, he looks it for Seb, but he can't find a way through as they come through. Can he as they switch back to left-hander? He's going to be on the outside here, and he's not going to find a way through for the time being. Speed Hunter in P10, Power Bill is in P11 just behind and falling back gradually as Mateo continues to battle here with Seb into Stablo 1. They go side by side through the corner and Seb's gone a little bit deep. He's lost the momentum and Mateo tucks back in. He knows there's no way through as Seb goes deeper into Stablo 2, and this is a disaster for Seb. He's going to be under major pressure up towards Blanchimont now as they make their way through, and Speed Hunter's trying to get in as well. He's trying to make it a 3-wide situation as they come to Blanchimont, and this may give Seb an opportunity, but Mateo's going for the move early. He's gone to the inside here as they come through into Blanchimont corner. This is only the opening lap as we see Seb taking the rally cross line there and going very wide and rejoining ahead of these guys. But as they make their way through the bus stop chicane here, we can see Texas Doyle comes out of the corner at the end of lap 1 to be our leader by 4/10 of a second, as behind you've got Kazuya followed by Enjoy, and then it's Dachu in P4. A brilliant start from Dachu to come up through the order. Then we've got DMRL in P. Well, it's Dachu's lifting off here. I think he feels as though perhaps he caused an incident between himself and DMRL for DMRL to get the penalty, so he's giving the place back. Zen in P6, then battling with Dachu. Dave in P7, Mateo in P8, he got the move done in the end. Speed Hunter in P9, then it's Power in P10, Seb in P11 with that runoff. Then it's Corinto in P12, Sat Leon in P13, last of our drivers. As they make their way through Rouge and Radion, we can see our top 3 are separated right now as DMRL takes the escape road there. He's going to get an additional time penalty levied against him for his runoff there. Meanwhile, behind him as he goes up to a second's worth of penalty, we see Dachu holding on to P5, but look at Zen versus Dave here. The two of them are side by side making their way up towards Lake Com, and we can see Zen holding the position. Dave cannot find a way through as he tucks in behind here. Patience is the key for Dave on this lap, but he's going to have 2 more laps after this one to try and find a way through the Frenchman. Will he be able to, as he gets very snap oversteering coming out of turn number 8. As they come down towards turn number 10 once again here, we can see no potential moves for the time being. And Mateo in that P8 position right now. He's looking to catch up to the battles. Hold on a second. I think Dachu's made a major error. He's gone wide, Zen's up into P5. And Dachu's dropped down to P6 right now as Dave's trying to find a way through. But Dave just cannot capitalise the way the Frenchman has. And the Canadian, I can feel his frustration. You can see it in the body language of the car. He wants to be up in that battle for the top 5. And he just cannot find a way to get into that attacking position. And let's take a look back at what happened to our Polish driver only a moment ago. So as he was making his way down out of what was turn number 9 heading up into 10 here, does he just simply go deep on the brakes? It looks as though he's gone very late on the brakes. In fact, he didn't brake for the corner, and as a result, he's only broken upon running to apex, and that's what happened to Dachu as he's rejoined. Now as they all make their way through at Stablo 1 here, we can see Dachu, I should say, getting his name completely wrong there and butchering it. I'm making myself a Murray Walker here. We can see that Dachu making his way through Stablo 2 here and doing everything he can to hold on to the back of Zen for now. Meanwhile, our race leaders, our top three, are nose to tail here. And as you're riding on board with Texas Doyle, again, remember, Doyle has not been in this situation in this round so far. He's got Kazuya and he's also got Enjoy behind. Now, Enjoy has been in the hunt and Enjoy is looking for that potential move on Kazuya. But I think he's coming out the slipstream as well to look for a little bit of a way to burn his penalty and lose the dirty air for Kazuya, which would cause him to go deeper into the corner. So Enjoy right now using Kazuya and also Texas Doyle's position as a way of burning his penalty. But as they make their way across that timeline, you can see everybody building up the pace. DMRL has now set the fastest lap at 2:31.478, and that is the indicator of the pace there, with the Turkishman in P4 not too far behind these guys as they come out. That's our top three, and then there's DMRL in P4, Zen a little bit further back in P5. As we look back to our P5 driver, who's broken away a little bit from Dachu, but remember the Polish driver, a very fast driver, and I reckon he's going to come back at him at the run down the Kimmel Straight here. They make their way through Rouge Radion. Will we see an attack here from Dachu, or will Zen be able to hold him off as they make their way over the crest of the hill here? You can see Zen drifted a little bit. They're all drifted a little bit wide, and we see Dave in particular there as Matteo almost does a Dave and goes very wide, and as a result, both of them losing out. But meanwhile, Zen, he's got just enough light of Dave between himself and Dachu, or has he? As Dachu goes deep on the brakes, will he be able to find a way on the inside? He's almost there, but he's not close enough to go for the move this time around. He's got to be very conscious of the car right now, because remember, the battling that these two do is costing them time at chasing after the top four. But perhaps really they're only fighting for P5 right now. Well, the fact the guys ahead are 2.5 seconds clear, and we've only got 1.5 laps left as they come out of turn 10 here. So will it be the case that they just contest P5 for the rest of it? As we see, our race leader right now is under continued pressure, is Texas Doyle, the GTD driver, who would love to land this win. You can tell he would love to land it after the misfortune of race number 2. But as he comes through Puon corner right now, Kazuya is getting closer and closer with each and every apex on this lap, and he's had a really strong run through Puon. But as they come down out of the corner, you can see Kazuya just riding a little too high on the exit curb there, and as a result, it's cost him a bit of settlement on the car. And now that means as they make their way through campus, he's tucked in behind Doyle. He can't find a move as DMRL is getting closer as well, but he's still about a second back from these guys. And as they come into the right-hand rear of Stablo 1, you can see it's the fact that Enjoy just waiting patiently here. And as we ride on board with Enjoy, what's going through the mind of the Polish driver, you're probably wondering right now? Well, he's waiting for these two ahead of him to make a mistake or battle one another so he can take the places off them. Because remember, Enjoy right now is third party to what they do. He just gets to spectate. He hasn't got DMRL putting pressure on. And Kazuya is starting to get closer and closer to Doyle. And if the two of them make mistakes and take one off, it's Enjoy who takes the position as they get all wrong there through Blanchiment, and Enjoy carrying a lot of momentum. I think he was expecting that Kazuya would go wide, but instead Kazuya got the car settled, and Enjoy timing that wrong there and losing out as Zen has got Dachu continuing to get closer and closer to the back of it, and there's no way through right now for Dachu as they come through the bus stop chicane and onto the final lap they go. The white flag is out, and they now make their way round for the final time in race number 3. We can see Speed Hunter in P9. We've got Seb72 in P10 right now chasing after him, but no gain, and there's been no change further down. Power Bill in P11, Corinto P12, and Sayat Leon last but not least our runners. But right now all of our racers here making their way round, and this is our race leader. He's gained a gap over Kazuya. Enjoy is still behind him. Now, Enjoy is not able to close up enough to put the pressure on, but I think at this point, if Doyle can keep that gap at 6 tenths right now, he could probably lull Enjoy to make a move early versus Kazuya, because remember, the Polish driver will want every single place. He won't, if he can't get the win, he will want P2, because that will give him the additional points going into the final race of tonight. But can Kazuya hold on? That will be the big question. They're all staying stationary for the time being. DMRL is also getting closer, remember, so now we could see the Turkish driver creep onto the podium at the very end here, as behind him you can see Zen holding off Dachu for the time being in the battle for P5, and these guys really are relegated to battling for P5 right now. There's no way, unless our top 4 all take one another out here on the final lap, there's no way these guys can get into that battle for the lead. And you can see Zen going a little bit defensive here into turn 10. He puts it in the middle of the road, and Dachu simply backs out of it, recognising that Zen's going to give himself a run deep into the corner. You can see they haven't really gained too much from one another. It's still the same. Zen under increasing pressure, as we've also got Dave trying to get into the mix, the Canadian at the rear of the camera shot there, and Matteo further back getting a bit wrong into X. But meanwhile, we look back up towards towards our race leaders, and you can see that Doyle has got Kazuya getting closer, and Enjoy has fallen back quite a bit. He's dropped back to 1.1 seconds off of Kazuya right now, and look who he's got close behind, and that's DMRL, and DMRL will be very, very eager to take that podium position off of him if he can find a way through, of course. But the thing with DMRL is he's one of the fastest drivers here. He's arguably the fastest driver on 1 lap pace, but Enjoy is no slouch, to be fair, either, as we see that Dacho, I think, has got the move done, or as he know, he's held on for the time being versus them. But Dave's up into P5. Well, what's happened there? I'm not 100% sure. We will take a look back at that shortly, but let's focus on our race leaders right now as they make their way through the final set of corners. The final time of asking they come through this final sector, and as they make their way in towards Blanchimont here, you can see Doyle's got enough of a gap here to take it relatively calm, or has he? Will Kazuya nail the run here as they make their way through Blanchimont? I don't think he's close enough. They come down towards the braking zone for a bus stop. And as they come into the chicane, it's going to be the case. Doyle goes defensive regardless. He puts it in the middle of the road to say to Kazuya, you are not coming through whether you like it or not. And it will be Texas Doyle who takes the win in the end in race number 3 by only 2 tenths over Kazuya. Enjoy P3, Helden off DMR and P4. Dave comes home in P5, but I'd like to know what happened there. Dachu P6, Zen P7, Matteo P8, Speed Hunter P9, Seb P10. It's going to be Power Bill in P11 and Corinto who crosses the line in P12, and we lost what was our P13 driver, the P1 driver right at the end there. Congratulations to all of our drivers, but to our winner, Texas Doyle from Italy for GTD. And I should say there, ladies and gentlemen, before I get challenged about it, our P13 driver, Sayat Leon from P1, unfortunately seemingly experienced technical issues on the car right at the end of the race, but hopefully he will be back for the finale tonight. But here are your race results, subject to any stewards' inquiries. We have Texas Doyle from GTD taking the win by only 2.5 tenths in the end over Prima Kazuya, and then Enjoy from ATR rounding off the podium. DMRL just missing out on the podium there, but the Turkish driver will have an advantage going into race number 4. Dave rounding off our top 5 there. He'll be very pleased to have finally finished in that top 5 position. Dachu in P6 and Zen in P7. I'm not sure what happened between the two of them, but we do know that Dave gained the place on both of them. I suspect they probably sent one another wide going through Puon and down into campus, and that's how Dave got the move down the pair of them. Matteo into P8, Speed Hunter P9, Seb 72 from WSR in P10, Prima's Powerville in P11, Corinto from GTD in P12, and of course, last but not least, retiring at the very end was the P1 driver of Sayat Leon, as we now get ready to go racing one last time. And the fastest lap was on lap number 4 there, a 2:31.458 as set by Prima Kazuya. And now as we wait to go racing once more, I think we're just taking a brief moment to see if we are going to get Sayat Leon rejoin as we get the change over there in terms of the time of day and also to the 13 laps. So what is the final race? Well, it is another feature race. It is 13 laps, reverse grid based on the finishing positions from what was race number 3. And of course, we will have that big question of the pit stop as we say hello there to Pablo ZC76, who's been enjoying the racing very much there. We can see we've also got Jake Sell Air there saying it's thumbs up time, folks. Huge work of Paul. Well, thank you, Jake. I really appreciate that. And also the compliment there from PRT Pyro, Professional Commentary, Bravo. Thanks, guys, and do give it a thumbs up. We do love to bring you these broadcasts as much as we possibly can. It's absolutely fantastic to be bringing the action from GT Fusion. But as we now look to this final race, again, we saw in race number 2 with this race how critical the fuel saving was for all of our drivers, as we see Seb's about to get us underway. And I do think right now we will be seeing a lot of fuel saving work from our drivers once again. But the real big challenge here will be for the likes of Dachi, for example, or Enjoy. They will want to end things on a high, but how can they get themselves up that order as rapidly? Do they simply over fuel save, or do they try and push early on? We saw it for Powerboom in particular, how the fact that it was working out until one mistake saw things completely turn upside down, and he will be starting towards the front once again here in this race. As we get the countdown, ladies and gentlemen, we go racing one last time tonight for Group C at Spa-Francorchamps. It is race number 4. Let's find out who's going to be the winner. So as we pan to the grid then, of course, with the rolling start due to commence, it will be the case that Corinto, the GTD driver, starts on pole with Powerbill just behind him. Seb in P3, and I suspect Seb is going to be in a very strong position here, given his pace overall. And then we've got Speed Hunter, who's a little bit of an unknown, because we didn't get to see Speed Hunter take part in the second race, the first feature race here. So the Mexican in P4, what can he do from that position? That will be a big question over everybody's mind. As we see, everybody is able to pull off the line. Nobody have any technical issues, so we will be bringing you race 4 immediately here as Corinto gets ready to take our drivers through the manual rolling start procedure. Now, of course, here he will bunch the pack up in the run down towards the source and coming out of it into turn 2. And we go racing underneath the billboard coming out of 2. And as he makes his way down here, you can see Powerbill closing up. Seb doing a little bit of weaving there, really taking his time to get those tyres up to temperature and trying to space himself out a little bit from the guys up front before he gradually closes up. But you can see the drivers right at the back, they're not coming along very rapidly here. And I think Corinto's got to be wary of the fact the field's still trying to catch up to him as they make their way down through 2 now. I think the field is going to cluster up very shortly, but Corinto here definitely taking the pace out the field now, definitely bringing us together. So it'll be GTD's Corinto who takes us racing when he's ready. And here we go, the racing is underway. Corinto getting a good start there as Powerbill has to react to it. He's a little bit slow off the reactions, and Powerbill's already dropped out the slipstream of Corinto here. The Prima driver's had a very poor start, and I think he's going to be very vulnerable here to Seb, who's going to go on the offensive very early on. And you can see Powerbill has just lost out so much there in the run up the hill, and now everybody behind is itching to go racing. But remember, with this being a fuel saver, it is the case that is it worth going attacking, as we see Seb looking for the move, and Matteo under pressure here from Anzeng very early on, as we see Corinto getting it very wrong over Lecom here, and I think we're going to see a major change in the order as drivers left, right and centre are trying to come through, and Dachu, they're trying to go round the outside into turn 9. Dave's off onto the grass there. My goodness, there has been a lot of drama and there's a lot to unpick as Corinto has lost the place to Powerbill, and they've only got down to turn 10 already as they make their way down towards X. Now Powerbill up into the lead, Corinto under pressure as Seb goes to the move on the inside here. The White Sim-Racers drivers have gone through on the inside, and now Speed Hunter's trying to come through as well, and Corinto with a perfect start has lost out massively here as we can see Speed Hunter under pressure from Matteo, and oh goodness me, we've got a car off. We have got a car off. That's Anzeng who's gone into the wall. You can see him there over on the left of your picture. He's gone flying off the circuit. I think he rode too high on the apex, on the entry curve into Bourne Corner. He's dropped all the way down the order. It is a very, very messy start for a good number of our drivers right now, and as they all make their way through campus, they start to finally settle down, but it has been dramatic for the start of this race, the final race of the evening. And I would not have predicted this, but Zen having a disastrous moment there, and we will have to unpick everything we can, but we will do so very shortly. As Powerbill right now has got Seb all over the back of him, and Seb definitely trying to put that pressure on nice and early here versus the Greek driver. He has got a gap of what is 1 second to Corinto behind. Corinto has dropped 2 places on this opening lap just through one mistake into Lecom. We'll unpick that for you very shortly, but right now as they all come charging through here, you can see how it's the case that Corinto really struggling to simply get the car and navigate through Blanchimont as they make their way up into the braking zone now for what is Buster. He's finally holding some ground as we see Dachu versus Matteo here, the 2 Polish drivers and the 2 different teams of PRT and ATR going side by side through the chicane, and as they clear it, DMRL is now trying to come back on the pair of them here, and I think he's gone for the cut back, and the Turkish driver as they make their way down, well, it's not working out for DMRL because he's going to lose the place to Dachu here on the inside into what is the opening corner into La Source, and we see they're 2 by 2 here, our top 6, as Seb has made the move for the lead and Powerbill has dropped the position, and as they now make their way down through what is turn number 2, you can see Seb versus Powerbill. Seb's got it done, and it's Corinto versus Speed Hunter. Now one of them's got to back out here. This is risky. They're going side by side up through the hill here, and Speed Hunter just backs out in time, as otherwise that could have gone horribly wrong. But look how much time he's lost as we've got Porsches everywhere as they come over the crest of the hill and onto the Kemble Straight, and Speed Hunter has lost 2 places in the space of one sequence of corners as Corinto has now got DMRL and also Dachu chasing after him. They come down to the braking zone here. My goodness, and Dachu's looking for the move here versus DMRL. He wants to get it done early, and DMRL with a lot of oversteer there, and I think you could attribute Dachu giving him a little poke on the rear end there, calls that, but as they make their way through turn number 9 right now, Corinto is proving to be a rock in terms of defending. It's causing everybody behind to really struggle and battle for position as we see Speed Hunter trying to find a way back versus the Polish and the Turkish driver ahead of them as they make their way down into what is X corner now as they come into left hand here. Look at how the field is clustering up in the hump for P3. And this is really difficult stuff right now, because if we ride on board here with DMRL, the GTBE driver, as they come down to put-on corner, that is a cluster of what is at least 7, if not 8 to 9 Porsche cars right now, all coming down the hill. And this is how close it is in the hunt for the top 3. We're riding on board with the P4 driver, who is only 7.5 tenths of a second off of Corinto, so who's ahead of him. But right now, DMRL dictates the pace in pursuing the podium, and that's the problem for DMRL. He's got so much pressure building up behind him right now, and when is that pressure going to burst? That is the big question. But I think they've all calmed down for a little bit. But remember, as they come up towards what will be the bus stop chicane in a short order right now, we can imagine that some drivers will go for a move here, because somebody's not going to get it perfect through Blanchimont. And DMRL, they're almost running wide out of Stavlo too. Immediately, the commentator's curse, kick it onto DMRL. When I say somebody's going to get it wrong, DMRL gets it wrong immediately, slightly. But when I say he's getting it wrong, it's only a small mistake. It's the tiniest mistakes, and that can have major repercussions here as they all make their way through Blanchimont for the second time of asking here. You can see everybody running as wide as possible onto that exit curve, and everyone calming down now. Kazuya looking for the move here on Speed Hunter. He looks to the inside as the Frenchman. They come through, and as they make their way into the second part of bus stop here, Kazuya cannot find a way through for the time being. The Prima driver holds on behind, and you can see Dave is running offline there. I think Dave versus Matteo here. The Canadians trying to go around the outside in the drag race down towards La Source here. Can Dave get it done? They make their way into the braking zone here, and Matteo defends. He does not want Dave to get ahead of him right now as they make their way out the corner. Dave getting a bit of snap oversteer on exit there, but as they now drag race their way up towards what is Erosion Radion, they're still side by side, but finally Dave cedes the position. He knows he hasn't got the momentum. But meanwhile, our race leader is Seb. He's managing the pace right now. He's had the fastest lap on lap 2 at 2:32.939. We perhaps expect that because he is our race leader. But right now, he's doing everything he needs to. As a bit further back, we've got Dachu here under attack from Speed Hunter. And Speed Hunter's looking for a potential move here. But it's surely, if he's going to go for it, he's going to have to literally do it at the last possible minute on the brakes. And we can see Dachu tried to turn him, but Speed Hunter was there. As we've got a car going very wide there. And it looks like that's Dave who's lost it completely into Lake Com. And Speed Hunter in the foreground of your picture here. He's still side by side with Dachu as they come through the corner. And look at Kazuya now coming through. The battle in between these two has cost them so much time. And Kazuya comes through the inside here to 10. Dachu turns in, but he finds a face full of Kazuya there. And as they come out of turn 10 and into 11, the Frenchman's gained a position, and Speed Hunter has completely upset the apple cart as the ATR driver is now got Matteo chasing after him as they make their way down towards turn number 12. And Dachu will be fuming at that, at the fact that he's lost a place when he was trying to go on the offensive, as they now make their way down to Puon corner here and come all the way through down the hill. But we're going to take a look back whilst we've got a brief moment at what happened to Matteo on the opening lap. Now remember, this was the race start, and Matteo was in that, what was it? Was it Matteo at the time, or was it? It was Corinto, my apologies. So this is what kicked everything off. Corinto started off so well, but look at the braking. He just got the cold tyres and the cold brakes, and he just simply came charging across. Speed Hunter almost experiencing the same thing, and this is what kicked off the whole sequence of battles. And we can see Zen here, for example, having a very difficult moment trying to fight his way through, only to get it wrong later on down to Puon corner, and Dave getting forced out there onto the grass with a bit of contact with Zen's car by looks of things. But now as we come back to the live pictures right now, we can see Seb and Power Bill nose to tail here, and Power Bill not giving up this one. In fact, staying there with Seb, and Seb in a poor run, and Power Bill's going to come back at him here into the bus stop chicane. Now, whether this is wise or not, I question whether Power Bill's doing the right thing here, given the fact that we would expect that Power Bill is a bit slower on average per lap compared to Seb when they're both running at their optimum pace here. I do think that Power Bill battling here is actually crippling their race, the pair of them, their races, and Power Bill's actually risking himself right now of being exposed to Corinto, because Corinto going into bus stop, to give you an idea, was 2.2 seconds back. The gap has now come down already through this battle into 1.7 seconds. They've lost half a second through battling through the chicane and La Source. And you can see Seb and Power, they're not agreeing who's going to be the lead driver, are they? As Seb finally backs out of it here, but they've cost one another a huge amount of time. And this is going, well, it's great racing for us as viewers, but for Seb right now, I think Seb might be screaming right now to say, Power Bill, just give up the fight and stop, as they both pick up half-second penalties as well, only to make their situation even more difficult. As we see Corinto from GTD, he's holding on to P3 right now. He's got DMRL chasing behind him. The GTB driver, of course, with the half-second penalty for track limits in through Radion. And as they look further back, we can see Speed Hunter closing up behind him in P5 right now. The number 187 driver doing everything he can to try and close up. Again, it very wrong there through turn 8. You could see the car just did not want to point in the right direction, and he's lost some time as Kazuya is still behind him. Dachu in P7, and then Matteo has dropped down a little bit. He's dropped down. He's still in P8, mind you, but he's lost pace on the guys ahead of him, as we do see see Dave here in P9, and then we've got Enjoy in P10, and then Texas Doyle. Well, Doyle was having a very difficult races, and Zen goes deep there out of turn number 10 once again. A mistake we've seen a number of drivers make here, and I think Zen right now just not having a good time at the wheel of that Porsche as he makes his way out of X corner and heads down towards Pouon once more. But meanwhile, our race leaders here, they've definitely calmed it down. We can see that Powerbill has been given 0.6 of a second, which doesn't sound like much, but Seb, I think, has given him a bit of space. And Powerbill as well, putting in a lot of pace right now. And I think for Powerbill, he's doing everything he possibly can to try and just simply hold on to that position. But will he be able to? That is the big question as he makes his way now down in towards what is Stavlo corner here. And we can see behind Seb trying to close up as much as he can once again. Corinto behind. We've got DMRL Speed Hunter. And look at this. The train of cars starting to form behind DMRL. He's got what is Speed Hunter. He's got Kazuya. He's got Dachu. And this means that everybody's now starting to come together once more. And it's all about this fuel saving situation. We will look at lap 6 in terms of the telemetry data with regards to the fuel tanks right now, folks. But I wonder if anybody is going to try and do the rather risky no stop here, although I do doubt it. I think everyone's trying to push for that one stop, but fuel save as much as possible to minimize their pit time. As we can see here, Corinto going up onto the grass there on the entry into the bus stop. That's going to cost him a little bit of time. Meanwhile, DMRL holding on to that P4 position for the time being as he makes his way. And oh, goodness me, DMRL getting a very bad run out the corner here. And look at Speed Hunter. He's under pressure because they're going to go 3 wide down into La Source here as they make their way down lap number 5. It's DMRL on the outside, Speed Hunter in the middle, Kazuya on the inside. Kazuya gets the move down Speed Hunter. He's going to try and make it a 2-for-1 special as Dachu comes into the mix here. All 4 drivers now coming out of turn 1 into turn 2 they go here. And Kazuya, I think with a double overtake here, has made it a 2-for-1 as we look back from his car right now. You're right on board with Prima Kazuya, who's in P4 after that very bold move on both what was DMRL and also Speed Hunter. And you can see DMRL getting it wrong there over the crest of the hill. And I think he's going to get a half-second penalty for track limits. And behind, we can see that Dachu has got past Speed Hunter there in the run up the hill. So as a result, now Dachu's gained 1 place, Kazuya's gained 2, and the other drivers have lost 2 and 1 respectively as we see DMRL really starting to put that pressure on. And look at, well, it looks as though Speed Hunter's coming back at Dachu here as we jump back to the exterior cameras, and Dachu says no way to the Mexican driver. The Polishman is holding on to that position as they make their way out of turn number 9 and down towards 10. Once again here, you can see all 4 of them staying in formation for the time being, but Matteo is being allowed to catch up to this. Now the Polish driver here from PRT is closing once again, and then it's Dave who down in P9 right now is trying to find a way into this one. But look at Enjoy. Now this is a little bit of a surprise. We can see both Enjoy and Doyle here just hanging behind and not really pushing too hard. Have they got something up their sleeve here? I do wonder, because I would have expected Enjoy right now to be up there and around P7, P8 given his relative pace, but we'll wait and see here. And the same with Texas Doyle. Are these two trying to pull something cheeky or sneaky? Let's wait and see. But meanwhile, Powerbill leading at this point in time, but I do wonder how much that is him pushing so hard to hold on to lead right now. And we have seen this from Powerbill. We saw it in race number 2. He pushed very hard at the start, only to start to fall backwards as he went deeper and deeper. Will that happen again? That is the question. Corinto in P3, well, he's got a good amount of space between himself and Kazuya right now. And Corinto, I could be a surprise element for P3 in this race. And indeed, look at the consistent performance he's putting in right now. And to be fair, the GTD driver, whilst he's not too strong in the sprints, he's definitely very strong in this feature. And that is credit to him. The GTD team are very proud of their driver, I'm sure, right now, as he makes his way in towards Blanchimont for the 5th time of asking. Drifting his way in, and behind, we can see Kazuya in that P4 position. He's just trying to hold on for the time being as he breaks away from DMRL. And if he can break away from the GTTY driver, who's representing a GTBE, it will be the case that he might find himself a bit of a comfort space right now. As DMRL, I think, is more worried about the guys behind than he is the guy in front, but we'll wait and see as Kazuya's had a very poor run out of bus stop, but he's starting to get the better exit now down towards La Source. And as they come down to the braking zone, and once again here, we'll wait and see what's going to happen as they flow into the right-hander and as they make their way through. We're on lap number 6, so it's time now to start taking a look at that telemetry data once they've cleared the run into Lacombe. But as they come around, we can see coming through the left into right sequence over the brow of the hill they come. It's Powerbill who's got a good gap to Seb. They've all kept it nice and clean, these guys, and now we can start to look at that data. Well, Powerbill at this point in the race on lap number 6 on approximately what is about 32% fuel and a half-second penalty for track limits, so we thought he got it right. But meanwhile, we can see Seb, look at that fuel tank difference. Seb has simply been pacing himself. Seb's on a roughly about 45% fuel, well, 46 or 47 in fact, and right now he is just using Powerbill to fuel save. Behind him, Corinto on about 40%. That's not too bad, a middle ground. Then we've got Kazuya on about 42, 43%. And then we do have further back there, that's DMRL on about 35% right now. Dachu right behind him on 30%. Dachu's really pushing here. And as we get rid of the telemetry data, you can see that Dachu, a little bit of contact between himself and the Turkish driver DMRL, but he's got the move done there. And they were both burning penalties as they made their way through turn number 10. It's a change in position right now, but we can see that Dachu really pushing on as they make their way down in towards Pullen Corner. And we take a look at the telemetry data once again. We've got Speed Hunter here in P7. He's on 25% fuel. Speed Hunter has got the lowest amount of fuel of any of our top 7 right now. And then behind him, Matteo on about 38%. That's looking good for Matteo. Then Dave, meanwhile, on about 30%. Not looking too good in Dave's position. We've then got Enjoy, who's on 47% here. Enjoy doing a huge amount of fuel saving. And I think Texas Doyle has not done as much fuel saving. Now, that is a shocker. I thought Texas Doyle would have done even more. Enjoy is going to have a huge gain in the pit stop window. And then we can see Zen here on about 28% right now. Zen not having a good day in this race so far and trying to get himself back into a competition here as we look back up front. And we can see, hold on a second, what's happened to our driver who was leading only moments ago? We have lost somebody, and that is Power Bill. What has happened to the Greek driver? We'll wait and see as he's got Dachu coming through on the inside of him right now, coming in towards Blanchimon here, and he's backing off and letting the place go. I think Power Bill's had a very poor run through Stavlo because he's lost out 4 places when he was leading only moments ago. And we can see everybody coming in here, and we've got some drivers ghosting due to penalty burning, and Power Bill there stays in P5, and he makes his way into the pits here, and Power Bill this time is not compromised coming into the pit, so fortunately for him, he's now safe. But we're going to take a look back at what happened to Power Bill only moments ago. So he made a mistake through Campus there because we're not catching what happened, but we can see he went wide at Campus because he's got to have dirt on his tyres. That's why he's going so deep into Stavlo, and that's when it caused everybody to come through versus Bill. So Bill with a mistake at Campus, dropping down the order as Seb continues around here. We also see Kazuya continuing racing, and then we have got Corinto in P3, holding on there in that P3 position for the time being. Dachu behind him in P4, and Speed Hunter staying up, but Speed Hunter gets it very wrong over Erusian Radion, and as a result has to take to the escape road there. And that is going to have cost him a huge amount of time. There will also be dirt on his tyres right now, and Speed Hunter's going to be vulnerable today. He's not going to fight this. He must know that Dave's going to come through with a lot of speed there. He tucks him behind instead and recognises he cannot fight that position for the time being as Dave moves up a position, does the Canadian driver, and we can see Enjoy behind here continuing to fuel save as Powerville emerges from the pits ahead of everybody right now. He's come back out ahead of DMRL, which is a little bit of a surprise there, I must say, because DMRL was ahead of him going into the pit. But right now, Powerville holds on to the position for the time being here. And they've all fueled up, of course. And I wonder if he's underfueled versus DMRL. We can see that he's gone for about what is 85%. DMRL has gone for more fuel, and that would explain the difference there. He's gone for about, well, I would say that's actually 85%, and it's more the case the driver ahead of him is on 80%. As these guys make their way down, we see Mateo also pitted. And Texas Doyle decided to pit early as well. Now, this is a little bit of a surprise from Texas Doyle. I would have thought he would have gone longer. And Zen also pitted here, but he's got that track limits penalty to burn. But Seb, meanwhile, leading right now because he is closing that gap up a little bit. The fastest man on circuit is GTCQ's Dave on a 232.3 that last time around. But Seb right now trying to manage that gap to his fellow countryman, but from another team, of course, the Prima driver behind, who's got himself some breathing room out on the circuit as Prima Kazuya. And this will work to his advantage for the number 568 car as he makes his way out towards Blanchimon right now. And we're going to see how this is all going to play out because I suspect that everybody will be pitting who hasn't pitted, I should say, at the end of lap number 7 here. And who is going to be our race leader? Will it be Seb? Will it be Powerbill? Or will it be somebody else entirely? I think Enjoy we're going to see jump from P7 quite a way up the order. Remember, Enjoy was P10 before the pit stops happened. Let's see how many places he gains as we see Kazuya come into the pits. Seb goes one more lap. Now, we did see this on the previous feature race on race number 2. Seb went an 8th lap to give himself more track space and not feel the pressure there. But where is Enjoy in all this? That's the question. Will Enjoy coming in on 24% fuel, more than anybody else? And here is Powerbill. Now, how's it going to play out for all these drivers? Because remember, Powerbill was the first driver to pit in the whole sequence as they made their way down towards, and I think DMRO has made a mistake somewhere because he's dropped down the order. He's had Matteo come past him, and whilst we won't be able to get the replay of that one now, folks, we are going to focus on how this is all going to play out between our drivers pitting. As we see Power Bill here making his way through the corner. And where all drives, well, we can see Dave currently being serviced in the pits here. They're working on the car. And what about Enjoy? Well, they're putting fuel in the car for Enjoy here. Power Bill's just made his way across that timing line to go on to lap number 8. And as he makes his way down, we'll wait and see, as I think Corinto has come out the pits already. Corinto was P3 when this all happened. Where's everybody else going to start coming out? That'll be the big question. Well, Kazuya has come out in P3. And then we've got Power Bill here. And then we've got Dave who's come out in... Oh, goodness me, they're all going to come out side by side here. This is going to be a major cluster together as they all come down through turn 2. And we can see Enjoy has not gained much. He's gained 1 place through the pit stop window here, despite having less fuel to put in the car. But he's had a really bad run over the crest of the hill, and Texas Style has gone around Enjoy. He's gone around the outside of Enjoy over the hill. He's picked up a 1 second penalty for it. But right now, the pits have not worked out for a lot of drivers, and Matteo has come out just ahead of all this. He's ahead of DMRO and now makes his way in towards Lake Com here as they all cluster in behind him. And you can see he now forms the head of the new train here. Power Bill has come out clear of these guys. But he's gone very wide out of turn 9. He's pushed a bit too hard, and that could be a track limits penalty of half a second there for running that wide, if I do not say so myself. But we can see, meanwhile, Doyle has had a disaster, as has Enjoy. And Enjoy has lost out so much. He has not gained a single place. Enjoy has lost out through going longer and fuel saving here. And the ATR driver now has to fight his way through to get right up there. But meanwhile, what will be Corinto, we suspect Corinto will be coming out into the race leader when this is all done. We can see here in P2 currently, he's got a gap of 39 seconds to our race leader, who is Seb, who will be coming to the pit shortly. How will it play out? We'll wait and see as Power Bill makes his way right now in P4 down towards Campus here. And you can see Matteo, everybody clustering up behind here, behind Matteo. And this could give our top 4 an opportunity to break away unless Matteo can really drag the top 4 back into the fight. This is a shocker to be sure right now, folks, as we can see Dachu there in P7, not able to get past DMRO. Everybody has come out in the wrong sequence here, and everyone on a roughly equal pace. It has not worked out for any of the drivers who went a lap longer. Everybody who pitted on lap number 6 has really made this work right now as they all come through. Seb's in the pits, and I can tell you right now the crew are waiting to service Seb's car as they're waiting. The lollipop man there waiting to give him the signal. Corinto, by comparison, is just making his way up in towards bus stop right now. I think Corinto here could be the surprise element as we look a little bit further back in the battle for P5. We can see everybody coming together here. It's Power Bill under a lot of pressure from Matteo as Matteo looks to move. He can't get it. Dachu, meanwhile, goes defensive. He looks to the inside here versus Matteo, and DMRO now makes it 3 wide into turn 20, and as he goes round the outside as Dave's also in the mix here. And Power Bill has simply got it right in terms of the fact he's caused Matteo, Dachu and DMRO to trip over one another. They come along towards the La Source right now. And look at Corinto. Corinto is your race leader by 1 second. And Seb, by going 1 lap longer, has come out in P2. 3 seconds clear of Kazuya in P3. Power Bill in P4. He's caused the drivers behind him to stack up. And we can see Matteo here in P5 with DMRL and Dachu calming it down and settling back into a sequence. This is a complete surprise. And can Corinto now hold on for 5 more laps to bring home the win, as we see Dachu here on the back of him. Dave closed up as well. Texas Style a bit further back. They all charge up towards what is Lacombe, and we can see that Matteo going defensive early on versus DMRL. You can see the GTFusiOn driver wants that position back so badly right now. He wants to go round. They want to hunt down Power Bill. At least DMRL definitely wants to try and hunt down that P4 position, but Matteo stands firm here. He does not want to lose that P5 right now. He does not want to let the drivers behind, who I think he feels are faster overall, come through. As we see Dachu here looks on a move versus DMRL. They go into turn 10, both drivers with contact. And look at Dave. Dave comes through and picks up the 2 places. What a brilliant capitalisation by Dave. As we also see Doyle coming through there, and also Enjoy. And it means DMRL and also Dachu have dropped themselves down in the order massively with that one little contact between the 2 of them. Let's take a look back at that. So riding on board here with Dave, what you're going to see, we'll get it from Dave's perspective, watch Dachu, he's going to pull to the inside, but he breaks so deep into the corner, he can't stop the car as DMRL goes in, and he just simply takes the 2 places for wonders, Dave, and says thank you very much as he drifts his way through the corner there. And I think Dave will be grinning ear to ear with that pass, because that was very well timed. And remember what I was saying earlier about when you've got 2 drivers ahead of you battling, how a little instant between them can mean you can gain 2 for 1. Dave has just demonstrated that point perfectly perfectly there. A great bit of cool-mindedness, and now Dave will hunt down Matteo, but will he have difficulty passing the Polishman or the Canadian? That will be the big question, because Matteo right now has proven to be the hardest driver to pass of anybody here. He just defends so hard, the PRT driver, and it's to his credit. As meanwhile, our race leader, Corinto, is under attack from Seb. Seb looks to move here into bus stop. There's no way through for the time being, as we ride on board with Corinto as he comes out the final corner. Makes his way onto lap number 10, and as they charge down across that timing line, we can see it's the case right now. Corinto really under major pressure, and Seb looks to the move into La Source. He's not close enough, and I think for Seb right now, he's trying to tippy-toe his way. I think what he's waiting for is the opportunity to go for the move up onto the Kemmel Straight. As meanwhile, further back, we can see that battle for P4 is now closing in. Power Bill has got Matteo inching closer to him. The Greek has got pressure building up. They all come through turn 2, and further back, look at this. Diamara and Zen, the two teammates right now in P9 and P10 respectively. The GTE drivers will be absolutely frustrated as they make their way up through Rouge and Radion, and they've got Datu behind them. He's going to try and get into the mix here, and meanwhile our race leader, he's going defensive to the inside versus Seb. Seb's got the overspeed here into Lacom, but he's also got a half-second penalty. He passes through Corinto here. It's going to get a little bit scrappy, but as they make their way through, Seb has gained the place, but I think he will be expected to give that one back potentially. Well, the fact he did pass through Corinto to get it done, we'll wait and see. That's for the stewards to decide, as we can see Kazuya has closed up massively on these guys. Our P3 man, who really does have the pace to potentially take the win in this one, he's going to close up to the pair. Corinto gets it very wrong and almost loses the car on the exit of turn 10 there. Corinto is pushing to try and hold on to his podium position, and Kazuya is getting ever closer right now as our top 3 make their way down to Puon corner, and behind them you can see Power Bill is holding off Matteo for the time being. But Matteo only half a second back and continues to stay there right now. That pressure must be untenable, as looking at this, Kazuya looks to the move here down in towards Campus Chicane. He goes to the inside here, very deep on the brakes is the Prima driver, as we see behind Corinto, tucked in well behind right now. Can he find a way through, or will it be the case that Kazuya, he's got it done, he's done the cut back there from the outside to inside, and it's all over in that hunt for P2. I think for Corinto, he'll need to now tuck in behind and wait for that opportunity to hold on to that P3 position, or potentially if Kazuya and Seb get close together and make a mistake. But for Corinto, I don't think he should be dispirited right now. He simply needs to be patient and see how it plays out ahead on, because he could still get a podium or at least a top 5 as they make their way up towards Blanchimont corner. And we can see there some question marks being raised in the chat with regards to Seb's pass on what was Corinto, but we will wait and see after the race as they make their way down in towards bus stop, and it is Kazuya who is hunting down our race leader right now, and it is the Frenchman in P2, is the fastest of anybody as it stands. He's set in purple in all 3 sectors and is absolutely flying as he makes his way across that timing line and heads on to lap number 11. 3 laps to go, and there's only a second between our top 2. Who's going to be the winner of these two? As we look a bit further back then, we can see that is the case. Powerville holding off Matteo for the time being. The Greek driver holding on, as all of our drivers right now are starting to line up their final battles, going on to the final 3 laps. All good at speed, and Speed Hunter there a little bit deep on the brakes for Zeng, and Zeng getting it wrong there on exit. Come on, cameraman, pan it around. We want to see what's happening in the battle for P11, and there it is as they come through turn 2. Zen under pressure here from Speed Hunter as they make their way up towards Origin Radion here, and as the number 17 driver makes his way through, he goes a little bit deep into the corner here, and the pressure makes its way around towards the Kimmel Straight right now. We can see that Speed Hunter is still there, and he's got the overspeed now. Now can Zen defend the inside? I think Speed Hunter's too fast for him. Into the heavy braking zone they go, and will it be the case that Zen holds there? No, he tucks in behind. He knows he cannot get the place back as they make their way through the right into left sequence here, and Zen, he's going to try and come back, but Speed Hunter's held on. The Mexican has gained the position as they make their way through turn 9. But will Zen look for it back into turn number 10 right now? This is the battle for P11, of course, the last of the playing positions as they make their way down. No attempt this time as Speed Hunter holds on, goes a little bit deep, but he will get the acceleration out the corner. And meanwhile, our race leader, he's still holding on by 9/10 of a second over Kazuya. Corinto, meanwhile, the GTD driver in P3, he's got Dave a further 2.5 seconds back. Dave, the Canadian, right now, looking to hold on to a top 5 finish, which he'll be proud of. It'll be 2 top 5s back-to-back in the final 2 races of tonight, and that would be phenomenal. But look behind him here as we see, hold on a second. Dave wasn't in P4 a moment ago. Dave's gained a position here. In fact, he's gained multiple positions as they make their way through. How on earth has the Canadian done that? I do wonder right now. Let's take a look. Well, he was already up there, so something has happened between Powerbill and Matteo, which has caused them both to drop down the order, and that must have happened up into Lecom. As we can see, Powerbill has still got Matteo all over the back of him right now, but Matteo under pressure here from what is Texas Doyle. We missed what happened earlier on, but what I can tell you, we're not missing it right now, is that Texas Doyle and Enjoy are both competing here to try and get P6 off of Matteo. But as they make their way up in towards Blanchimont, look at Enjoy literally siphoning the car from left to right here, trying to get in the mind of Texas Doyle, trying to make Doyle make a mistake here. And as they come out of Blanchimont and head up towards bus stop, we can see that it's going to be Matteo on the inside defending against Texas Doyle on the outside. Doyle's going to try and go all the way around under braking, and he's got a head under braking as he looks to the move on Power Bill as well. But Bill's there on the inside as they all come flying through here. All four drivers. Who's going to emerge the victor as they go on to lap number 12, where it's a drag race between Matteo and Doyle as Doyle went wide there at the final corner, and Matteo now tries to come at Power Bill here, and they all make their way down to La Source. The legs must be tired, the arms must be stiff, but as they make their way through La Source, you can see Matteo goes through. He gets P5 at the time being, and enjoys also come through into P7 versus Texas Doyle, but DMRL and the driver behind him as well, of what is, I believe, that statue, are closing up. And this is the battle for P5 as they now make their way up the hill here in towards the Kemmel Straight. And Matteo, oh goodness me, and it looks as though multiple drivers have got it horrifically wrong. And as they make their way down onto the Kemmel Straight, we're going to see penalties left, right and centre being applied here, as we can see a slowdown being attributed to Matteo there. We can see Texas Doyle and Powerbill getting away with it, Enjoy picking up one as well, and Dachu, well, it does look as though multiple drivers got it horrifically wrong, and Texas Doyle gaining a huge amount of momentum with everything that's happened, and he's up into P5. He's got past Matteo here as they make their way through what is turn number 9 and head down towards turn number 10, and as they come down towards what is turn at number 10 right now, we can see it's that case that Matteo looks to the move here, but behind Powerbill having to hold off Enjoy and Dachu as much as he possibly can here. The Greek driver will not want to let the two ATR drivers through and take the position away, because I don't think he's got the pace to close back up to Matteo and Texas Doyle right now, but we'll wait and see. But whilst that's happening, of course, you can see Enjoy and Dachu now touching one another nose to tail here, and they're both, I think they're both tripping over one another here, and they need to decide which one of them's going to make the charge versus the three ahead of them right now, because otherwise they're going to cost one another time as they make their way. Oh goodness me, and Dachu is pushed wide by his teammate there, and I think Dachu's not going to be too happy. I think it's a bit of a misunderstanding as they make their way through the campus chicane right now, and it is really all kicking off as they make their way through it. And look at Enjoy, he's really struggling. He's lost the time on Powerbill as we see Dachu get it wrong there, and Dachu costs himself time as DMRL goes up onto the grass. They're all driving on the absolute limit through campus and into Stavlo, and these little mistakes are enabling the guys ahead to break away. As meanwhile, in terms of the hunt for the race leader, we can see Seb here managing that gap to Kazuya by 9/10 of a second. It's not coming down Corinto right now. He's got Dave all over the back of him in the hunt for P3. Dave's the fastest man on circuit at 2:31.668 last time around, and Corinto's going to have to go defensive into bust up on the penultimate lap. Dave's going to go all the way around the outside here. They give one another great racing room, but Dave's got the inside here into bust up, and he's going to squeeze Corinto to that outside line. They make their way out the corner, and Dave there is up into P3. One more lap to go in race number 4. The white flag is out, and as they all come down towards the source, Dave's up into P3, and we've got the two GTD drivers nose to tail from P4 to P5 right now as Corinto and Texas Doyle. Doyle's going to act as his rear gunner, I'm sure, as they make their way out of the source and now head up the hill here. Meanwhile, our race leader has still got a 1.1 second gap, but he's got a cloud over him due to an incident earlier on in the race, which we sorted out afterwards, I'm sure. But Seb right now holding on to the lead behind. You can see Corinto's already fallen back from Dave. He started to hit the cliff, and I wonder if Corinto's low on fuel. No, he's got enough fuel to get in, but he didn't change tyres, and that's why Corinto came out ahead of everybody. But at the same time, he's struggling for a grip. His rear tyres are shot, and we can see Texas Doyle is coming through on the inside, or is he? As no, he hasn't got enough of an overspeed here, but Corinto goes deep here to let his teammate through, and Texas Doyle is up into P4, and it's a great switch between the two of them, because look at how Corinto has come back into position here. He's parked himself right in position to hold off Matteo here, and this works out really well for Doyle, who's allowed to break away. Now will Matteo look for a move on the inside? He can't find it at the moment, and I think what Doyle's going to do is try and give slipstream to his teammate to hold off Matteo as they make their way through, but into X they come here, and it's all going to cluster together through X as they now come through the left-hander. Downhill they come. Enjoy, Powerbill and Dachu. Enjoy's got past Dachu, it should be pointed out. And Matteo looking for the move here versus Corinto as they come into what is turn number 12. The case, they're side by side. They give one another racing room as they come down the hill, but it's going to be very tight as they come through. Matteo takes the place, and now Corinto's got Enjoy trying to go round the outside to inside into Campus here. And as they come through the chicane, Corinto is dropping down the order as we've got ATR drivers everywhere. We've got Powerville dropping down as well as they make their way through the corner. And you can see that Dachu comes through as well versus Enjoy. It's all kicked off, and as they make the way towards Stavlo, it's Corinto who's lost out to Powerville as Powerville tries to come back. Dachu's gone round the outside of Dachu through Stavlo 1, but as they make their way through Stavlo 2, you can see he's gone wide and Powerville's knocked to the outside there. He's drifted along the AstroTurf and he joins back in P9. Oh my goodness, what a catch from Powerville. That could have been so messy as Corinto has gone up, and I see Dachu's giving the place back. But meanwhile, as he makes his way through the final corner, it will be WSR Seb72 who takes the win by 1.3 seconds in race number 4. And Prima Kazuya who couldn't do it in the end, and it's going to be Dave who, despite everything going wrong in races 1 and 2, has recovered to finish on the podium in race number 4. Congrats to Dave. Texas Doyle P4, Matteo P5, Enjoy P6, Corinto P7, Powerville P8, Dachu P9, and then it's going to be Anze in P10. It's then going to be Speed Hunter in the end who finishes in P11. Nobody running out of fuel this time, and DMRL finishing P12. Congratulations to all of our drivers, but to our race winner, Seb72 from France, representing Team WSR. What a phenomenal final race to complete this evening's proceedings. One absolutely monstrous set of battles there. But here are your race results, subject to any Stewards inquiries. WSR Sev72 winning in the end by 1.3 seconds ahead of Primus Kazuya in P2. And then it was Dave from TGT CQ who finished P3 in the end. A brilliant redemption arc for Dave over the course of tonight. Two disastrous opening races, only to see it come full circle with two top fives, including the podium in the final two. Our top five being rounded off by GTD's Texas Doyle and PRT's Matteo. And then the rest of the order was ATR Enjoy in P6, Corinto 10 from GTD in P7, Powerville from Prima in P8, Dachu from ATR in P9, and Zeng from GTB in P10. And then we had Speed Hunter and DMRL, the drivers from GTMX and GTB respectively, finishing P11 and P12. And we had the unfortunate retirement of what was Sayat Leon, P13, and our fastest lap was on the final lap as set by Seb72. He was saving all his fuel for the final lap to put in a phenomenal one at 2:31.482. Well, fantastic racing throughout the evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sure you'll agree. And whilst it was very, very close, fantastic battles up and down the field. And this concludes Group C's round number 4 for the GTFusiOn 2021 Team World Championship. Thank you very much for tuning in. And in approximately a month or so's time, we will be back to bring you the racing action for round number 5. We're not sure what lobbies we'll be casting yet, but I can assure you that I'll be there to bring you at least one or two of the lobbies. I have been your host, Paul TX141 Walsh, also known as Britain a Spit, depending on what media you follow me on. And until next time, I wish you a lovely end to your weekend. Stay safe. Stay well, stay smiling, but most importantly, remember to stay on track. Good night.